What is up, RotoGrinders? Welcome to the NFL Pick 6 show, the final 4 games. We're down to 8 teams, 4 games this weekend, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. Myself, Dean Shavelson from RotoGrinders, joined, as always, 2 of the absolute best in the business. We got Rich Hribar, Sharp Football Analysis, John Daigle, ETR, established the run. John Daigle survived the streets last week in Chicago. And apparently he's going to double down. Word on the street, he might double down and do it once again. And what Kevin Roth and a lot of people are going to tell us that it's going to be pretty cold, pretty nippy up there in Chicago. Daigle, is that the plan? Do you have any anecdotes from anything that, of course, Chicago just a completely ridiculous comeback against the Packers, a colossal failure for Green Bay. What were the streets like on Chicago during that celebration?
I am someone, maybe the only person, probably not the only person. Chicago has a large population, but one of the very few who can also relate that win in the city to the opening round of the Moscow-Russia World Cup game, where I was in the Red Square when Russia won their opening game 5-1 and should not have. It's a bunch of 48-year-old men who smoke cigarettes. Like, they look exactly like the Russian men's national team looks like, and they came out firing. And the police, rather than breaking up the celebration and burnt cars and dancing on top of said burnt cars downtown, they just formed a circle around it to limit it, but then allowed everyone to party within the giant red square circle. So I think Chicago was at least close to that. Thus, that's how it's relatable, is that it was one gigantic party. Like when Phillip Rivers played the Seattle, there was a non-zero chance I was going to die Saturday night, and I was okay with it. It's the way God intended me to go. But yeah, it was a great time, and the NFL rarely gets things right. They got it right by putting Soldier Field on Sunday Night Football.
Further evidence, by the way, Daigle, that you are the world's most interesting man. I had no idea you were partying in Russia during the World Cup. That, you just, every time you have this anecdote that kind of comes out of nowhere. It's like, was not aware. But that all checks out. That all makes sense. And looking forward to hearing how things go for you this upcoming Sunday. This is probably likely our last show. It's my understanding. We're stopping at 4 games. That's going to be it.
Not my choice, Andy, Dan, not our choice. So all you got to do is send one email, send one DM, and we'll be back next week. But yes, right now on the schedule, this is it.
Flood the comment section. Let the people know they demand one more week.
Fight back.
But I did want to say how much I love doing this show. I wanted to say it now and not in the movie portion. We're talking later on. Of course, we're talking about the Ballad of Wallace Island after all the football. And I feel like listenership might fall off of the movies. I don't know that for certain, but just want to make sure that people know we love you guys listen. And I love doing the show. Love you guys. Rich, Daigle, TJ, Rich and Rob. I don't know why I said Rich twice, but I did want to ask Rich, any thoughts?
I'll take 2.
Sure. We'll double down on the love. Did you have any takeaways? Anything that's worth mentioning as far as the opening round wildcard weekend?
No, super fun, man. I mean, obviously, like the first 4 games are absolute awesome games that, where they were decided in the final minutes of each game. The last 2 games were, they meandered their way through, but eventually you have to have some chalk hits. So Patriots and Texans got there, but it was an awesome opening round. I mean, it was wild too. I mean, like, there were 700-yard receivers last weekend, and dude, they were like out of left field, like Christian Kirk. Like, the Texans remembered they had Christian Kirk. He had like more yards on Monday night than he had like the previous 10 games. Obviously, Jalen Coker had a monster game. Demarcus Robinson had 100 yards and a touchdown. Romeo Doubs had 100 yards. We saw Matthew Golden didn't get 100 yards, but like literally was alive. Like, it had his touchdown was incredible too. Like, hurdled over a dude. Yeah. Like, it was awesome. Like, yeah, they're like, that's the thing about like when you see like these playoff games. Sometimes this always happens in the Super Bowl, like some random guy like Chris Matthews like hits and stuff. But they were all like, there was just guys popping out of left field last week making huge plays.
I will say, we always clamor for more of that though, like every Sunday, to just be good football, because it would make our job easier. I actually, after those first 4 games, I don't think it'd make my job easier, because it was too much. It's like I needed like a mental and physical break after those first 4 games because they were too hot.
Yeah, I needed that Patriots-Chargers game to be the way it was on Sunday. I was like, oh my God.
I was exhausted.
in Houston, Pittsburgh, it was the 36. Was it the final score? It wasn't.
Yeah, but it was 7-6. Like it was 7-6, like in the fourth quarter, and then things kind of got off the rails.
If you're playing the showdown stuff, you definitely needed that Houston defense and Kirk, and that got you home. That's basically what you needed because that was all the points. All right.
And in the FFPC, like a big sprints and stuff, like Houston D was a big swing. Because Nico Collins was really popular. Like Houston's D was a massive swing in that Monday night game.
That's the second wild card in a row, right? That Houston D was massive.
Yep.
We'll be talking about them soon enough. They play on Sunday. Let's talk about the first game. We're just going to go in order. First game on Saturday, it's Buffalo. Buffalo, after winning a wild card weekend, they had the pleasure of traveling to Denver. Play Denver on the short week. 45.5 is the total. Denver, slight favorite here. 1.5-point favorites. Daigle open it up. Bills, Broncos. By the way, I should note Roth does have his weather and looks really, really good for Denver. Obviously, check back on this. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. This is Wednesday night. But as of Wednesday night, mild temperatures, winds under 10 miles per hour, no precipitation, all good. Green. He's got a green in Denver. Daigle, what do you got?
Stacked, snowing, 0 degrees in Chicago, but does seem like everywhere else will be just okay. We did see this matchup just last year in the wild card round against DC Vance Joseph and Josh Allen. And in that game, the Broncos, as they did this regular season and leading the league in man coverage, Vance Joseph deployed man coverage on 70% of their snaps against Josh Allen. Allen, in that game, a different cast, but did go 12 for 18 for 11.8 yards per attempt and both of his touchdowns through the air as the Bills just dominated Bo Nix in that offense, 31-7. And that's kind of how I look at this game. Not so much of a dominance, but we still have question marks about what the Broncos can do against this offense, given that even against this defense, I should say, for Buffalo, given that even Trevor Lawrence, last week, 6.9 yards per attempt was his worst since the first half of the season. His 3 touchdowns came from 3, 6, and a dump off 14 yards out from the end zone. And so they were efficient, but really it was the running game that helped them win. Not so much like great quarterback play that separated them for Trevor Lawrence. And so I still think it's a really tough game here for Bo Nix. Thus, I look at Josh Allen, who's the equalizer against any good defense. And more importantly, we always complain about the Bills being unable to really stack Josh Allen efficiently because they just rotate guys. But now there are no guys. Like there is no rotation anymore. We are talking about only with Gabe Davis now out for the year. Tyrell Shevers also most likely out, back-to-back DMPs, obviously played through the first half, as everyone found out, with a torn ACL. The Buffalo's now down to Brandon Cooks, who last week was targeted on 33% of his routes against man coverage, Keon Coleman, and Khalil Shakir from the slot. Curtis Samuel is going to be activated from inner reserve, and he's the kind of chess piece where even if we don't think he's going to get like NFL targets, he could be used intricately and still like fall forward for 2 touchdowns because they give him, one-on-one pre-snap motion behind the line of scrimmage. And so I think it's at least easier now to stack Josh Allen. And even though it's going to be done in a 2-game slate, most likely, because he's still Josh Allen, I do wonder how much ownership will come up in the 4-game slate for him.
Include the tight ends here, Daigle. What would you power rank as far as Allen's weapons? Who would you pair him with most likely?
I still like Dalton Kincaid quite a bit. The Broncos are allowing the 3rd most targets per game to opposing tight ends. Dalton Kincaid last week, 75% of his targets, he only got 5 of them, but 75% came against man coverage as well. And he's just the kind of guy who, as we cross our fingers, he gets a little bit healthier every week as we move along in the playoffs for Buffalo, that he has the most upside, the highest ceiling for among these wide receivers. I also think it's a nuanced conversation because for Shakir, it's not as if you're like terrified of him, given, his depth of target under 3 yards. But at the same time, he could be peppered enough as he was last week with a season high 12 targets. And it's such an ugly slate, whether it's 2-day or 2-day or 2-game, that the points, like if he has another 8 for 74, let's say, you might need it on this slate. It's so ugly. And so I'm still open to Shakir, but I do think the better idea is, as we've talked about all offseason, is to go away from Patrick Surtain. And again, Surtain's only played 8% of his snaps this year from the slot. If it were me, I'd probably put him on Shakir and try to get everyone else to beat me. I don't think, though, that's going to happen here. And so Shakir, I still think, is a high floor. And then we're in a guessing game as to who he matches up against. I would say Brandon Cooks. Thus, it leaves me for a nasty play against Keon Coleman, for Keon Coleman instead. But that's how I look at it with Dalton Kincaid is still my favorite option.
It's an interesting point about Surtain. Rin's jump in here, Rich, as far as the Bills. And what is Sean Payton done historically? Is he too stubborn? He just does what he does, or would he change depending on like the players he's playing against? Is there a chance Surtain jumps into the slot and covers the PPR scam that is Shakir?
No, I don't think so. I think the types of targets that Clearsher gets, like you don't game plan against, right? Like he averaged 1.8 air yards per target last week. Like you're not scheming to take that away. I mean, he had 12 targets and got to 80 yards. Like you're not scared of that, like beating you. So they're not going to, I don't think they're going to do anything like against the grain. I would love to see them not really blitz in this game and maybe see if they can get home with 4. I mean, that's been kind of and obviously that's a tried and truism for NFL football anyways. If you can get home with 4, you're going to have success. But Josh Allen has particularly had a lot of trouble against teams this year that can get pressure without blitzing. The Eagles, the Patriots, the Texans, and the Browns all were able to pressure Allen on 40% or more of his dropbacks without blitzing. They almost lost all of those games. They actually did lose all those games, but the Browns game, the Week 5 Patriots game, they had a 42% pressure rate without blitzing on him. And like that's been the one thing about this Bills team. Like if you can really, really throw a wrench in them by creating pressure and like all these matchups, that's the one thing the Broncos have going for them here. It's easy to look at kind of last year's matchup, but that game was 13-7, like with like halfway through the third quarter. Like it was still relatively close. It was in Buffalo. It was Bo Nix's first career playoff start. This is a different Bills team. They're banged up. They're on a short week. These teams that have had short rest in the playoffs have been absolutely miserable. I mean, they're 6-15 straight up going back to 2002 in this round of the playoffs. Sean Payton's 4-0 when he's had the rest advantage in the playoffs. So like there's a lot kind of still here pushing back against the Bills. That's why they swung. We almost had the very rare number 1 seed underdog in the second round, which we only had one other time. It was the Nick Foles Eagles were the only ones. So we almost had it again, but it swung back with the amount of injuries that they had. But yeah, I'd love to see them not really try to blitz Josh Allen and say like, hey man, like really our defensive players are better than all your offensive players except for your quarterback. But like that's how they should play this game, is play it very sharp. Like we talked about the Rams doing last week against the Panthers. And when they did that, they were successful, even though their special teams tried to give it away.
We saw Ty Johnson not play last week, and I thought that might mean more for Cook, but that I don't think it played out that way. Like Davis got some, Gore got some for whatever reason. Cook basically he got what he got, Rich, right? Typically his normal allotment, and just Johnson stuff went to Davis and Gore's kid. Is that right?
Yeah, he only ran a route on 43% of the dropbacks. That was kind of the angle everyone was playing, was like he'll get utilized more as a receiver against Jacksonville. They did have a lot of success running on Denver last year. You know, you've seen a lot of people already talk about like the size advantage of the offensive line. I mean, Denver has allowed one running back to go over 73 yards this season. And, Buffalo's faced 7 top 10 run defense already. Like they're tried and true. They faced another one last week. And James Cook's been held below 50 yards in 4 of those games. Denver doesn't give up anything to running backs through the air. And he obviously, didn't even catch a pass in the playoff game last year, but only 13.9% of the receptions Denver's allowed have gone to running backs. It's the lowest rate in the league. So, I mean, it's not necessarily a great matchup on paper, even though they had success running in Buffalo last year. I just think that's going to be a little different game. I think the game script's going to be a little different in this game. I don't know if we can pry a lot from last year's game in Buffalo and apply it to this game.
By different, you mean also not fantasy friendly?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that it's the Bills anyways. Like it's Josh Allen, it's James Cook, and then like you got to hope for some. The thing is, like you can get touchdowns from guys, and they might matter on this slate because it's only 4 games. But like, where's the ceiling for all these guys, right? Like Kincaid is still playing, only 40% of the offensive snaps. We know he's only going to run a route on a limited stuff. And it's funny is if they do go to the James Cook route and they play to their size, he doesn't block. Another thing, too, is Keon Coleman's going to have to play. He's terrible as a blocker, too. So it kind of does lessen them. If they have to play Kincaid more, have to play Coleman more, it makes their run game worse, too, as well. So you look at all these Bills guys, it's still sum of parts. Like I said, on a short slate, 2-game slate, 4-game slate, touchdowns will matter. But even with touchdowns, there's not like a super, like a high ceiling here where like you're scared of any of these Buffalo guys outside of James Cook, like really killing you.
We were going through it before the show started as far as like FanDuel. It seems like their biggest slates are the 2-gamers split up, like Saturday and Sunday. Their 4-gamer, they have it, but it's just not as strong. DK gives you like, Saturday, Sunday, and a 4-gamer as well. But their 4-gamer does have the million makers. So they're, obviously this conversation, understand, depending on what you're playing, you can extrapolate however you'd like. Pick one of these flyer receivers here, Rich, as far as Buffalo, and you want to include their tight ends. Who is your favorite amongst? I guess we can include Shakir, Cooks.
It would still just be Shakir and Kincaid. Like I said, yeah. I don't anticipate the Broncos to do anything special to try to really slow down the way Shakir gets his targets. They're all at or behind the line of scrimmage. 40% of his targets this year have come at or behind the line of scrimmage. That's the highest rate in the league for any wide receiver.
Jeez.
You're not going to take that away, right? Like it's like you're gonna live with that and try to come up and make tackles. So it'd still be those two guys. They're still the guys that when they're on the field, they get targeted at the highest rate. Dawson Knox is still relatively intriguing in the context of this Bills offense just because he's had to play more because Kincaid's not been 100% healthy. And in this particular matchup, they're probably going to have to run some stuff through these tight ends given the individual matchup of Denver just being so good on the outside and then just their limited availability at wide receiver.
Shakir basically an extension of the run game, more or less. Daigle, your thoughts as far as Denver? How do we feel about Knicks as far as stacking him? I'm seeing Franklin hit some stuff. That's not comfortable, but just like salary. I'm seeing at least in some of the FanDuel lineups I ran, Bryant is hitting some stuff too because 4.9 on FanDuel. I don't know how great you'd feel about that, but yeah, how we stacking up Knicks if we are.
Yeah, and over the last couple months, that was the key, is that Troy Franklin popped up in DFS whenever Pat Bryant was out. But whenever Pat Bryant was available, Troy Franklin went back to the bench. I'm not saying with a bye week in between, that's how it's going to stick. But I would personally lean Pat Bryant as the better play, given that at least he was in 2 wide receiver sets over Troy Franklin these last couple of months. Having said that, I still think RJ Harvey is probably the best play here. Bo Nix can always make it chaotic enough to where it's not ugly, but he can still potentially win a slate with his legs, especially. But for Bo Nix, or for RJ Harvey, I should say, in the wild card round, Buffalo still leaked the highest yards before and after contact per attempt, with 30% of the runs against them gaining 10 yards between Travis Etienne and Bashal Tutin. So RJ Harvey for me is still kind of the way to play this.
I'm seeing him as the most popular running back on the stuff that I'm running on Wednesday night. This, of course, can change, grain of salt, but
that's the 4-game, right? The most popular.
Yeah. I ran the 4-gamer. He's the most popular on both DK and on FanDuel. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. If that turns out to be true, Rich, is RJ Harvey good chalk?
No. He hasn't been good. That's the problem. Right? He's had strong touchdown equity that's got him through, but I mean, out of 49 running backs, 100 or more attempts here, he's 42nd in yards per carry, 41st in success rate, 47th in explosive run rate. He's 39th in stuff rate. He's 42nd in yards after contact. And there's a reason, since J.K. Dobbins has gotten injured, the Denver Broncos are second in the NFL in pass rate over expectation. They don't trust their run game really at all right now. And Jacksonville did have success. They had success running on the edges last week. They ran 12 times for 106 yards off the edges. I mean, interesting enough, that's where Harvey's been really bad this year. He's only averaged 3.4 yards per carry, rushing to either edge this season. It's 46 out of 49 running backs. So it's just really tough to say he's barely he's gotten there in volume and touchdown equity, but he isn't really offered a lot of really explosive upside either himself. So if he is the most popular play, I think you got to go in a different direction.
Is this a good game to just not play? Just make it a 3-game slate? If you're, I guess you go play defense.
No, I don't think so. Because the other games are just as bad.
I'm about to say it's a 1-game slate. We're talking about it all relative to 1 game. Yeah.
I still think this game offers a lot more upside than the 2 in between. You're thinking of it like a bookend, right? Like a barbell.
I just think
this game and the last game,
Josh Allen and Bo Nix can muck any slate up. They have that. They're capable of doing that regardless of how it looks on paper.
Yeah, I was thinking, and we'll get to it, we can rank them, but I was thinking Houston, New England's the worst Yeah, this one might be the second or third. Yeah, I guess that's right. That's pretty fair. Okay. Anything else as far as Bills, Broncos, or shall we move along?
Oh, I think there's Broncos passing game I still think is very interesting. The Pat Bryant playing has been a huge boon for Cortland Sutton because Pat Bryant doesn't earn targets. So there was a point in the season when Troy Franklin was playing, because Troy Franklin, even with Pat Bryant, even when he's coming in for these 60% of the dropbacks, like he's still getting targeted because he gets open. But Pat Bryant being on the field more has just made more targets go to Cortland Sutton because Pat Bryant doesn't get open. He's only been targeted on 16.2% of his routes. Franklin's at 22%. Remember, there's a point in the season where people are like, is it like a 1A, 1B situation with Franklin and Sutton? But with Pat Bryant playing more, it's made Sutton more of a clear like lead target. And he's at double-digit targets in 4 of his past 5 games to end the year. And his target rate and everything's gone up. So he becomes like, and we know he's a guy that carries touchdown equity as well. So like if people are going to play through Harvey, I mean, a guy like Cortland Sutton becomes, relatively kind of easy pivot here too as well.
I'm going to play both Harvey and Sutton.
And your main lineup?
I'm just going to play both of them. Yeah. Because I don't, again, we'll get to all the games. I don't really like a lot though.
Yeah.
I think that's the theme of divisional round is that we don't like a lot.
And the other thing is too, short week, but Bills are banged up defensively. I mean, we know they didn't have Maxwell Hairston last week. Not having Terrell Bernard's not a huge big deal because Shaq Thompson's actually played better than Bernard to close the season. But Jordan Poyer left last week's game. They had already lost Taylor Rapp for the season. So that means they're probably going to have to elevate DeMar Hamlin or Darnell Savage for this game. Jordan Hancock came in. He's a rookie. He came in and immediately gave the most receiving yards and coverage. So I don't know if they're going to roll him out there as much as they had to last week. I assume we see one of those guys up. And then can we really count on Tre'Davious White to turn back the clock like he did? He played an excellent game last week, but he had been pretty bad the entire season up until last week. So, I mean, Bills back end has a lot of moving parts too on a short week. So that's something else to kind of watch here, into this game.
Favorite play on both sides, Rich? It sounds like Sutton is your favorite play for Denver. I don't want to speak for you, though. Favorite play in Buffalo is who?
Probably, I mean, if it's not Josh Allen, I guess still James Cook.
Yeah. And Daigle, you said you like both Sutton and Harvey. Do you have
I like Kincaid, too. Like, even with the low route percentage, it's still, you just have to look at it relative to the Bills passing tree. And it's a good on paper matchup, as I mentioned, for Kincaid as well. He also earns target at a high rate on the low route. So I still like Kincaid.
Niners are in Seattle. They're on the road playing the short week as well. 45.5 is the total. Seattle's a 7-point favorite here. San Fran, they lost George Kittle. Ricky Pearsall is currently questionable. Was he limited today in practice? Not sure if he's going to play. If he plays, he might be limited, but just their receiving options are not spectacular. Rich, I'll let you kick us off here. San Fran at Seattle. What do you got?
And we just saw this game a couple weeks ago, and Seattle outgained San Francisco 361 yards to 173 yards. They punted just one time in that game, but they let San Francisco hang around because they went for a 4th down on the opening drive. They didn't get. They missed 2 field goals. As well, and kind of left that game open. We talked about last week even kind of being like, all right, well, the 49ers defense is a lot of bend but don't break. We thought the Eagles would be able to kind of get enough, but we also were worried that the Eagles would just let them hang around, and that's what happened in that game until the Juwan Jennings touchdown. So Seattle, with already having that kind of under their belt, maybe kind of keeps their foot on the gas in this game. Interesting enough, as we've seen Seattle kind of calibrate their offense, and maybe it's a little bit because just Jackson Smith and Jigba was just slaughtering teams for 2/3 of the year downfield, and teams had to try to calibrate this. Maybe it's like, hey, let's take some of this away. And maybe there was also some internal calibration from Seattle saying like, hey, Sam Darnold, like, look at our defense, dude. Like, maybe don't lose us any games. But you look at what Darnold has done since the opening 11 games of the season. Over that span, he led the NFL in yards per pass attempt. He was second in air yards per pass attempt. And 15% of his throws are 20 or more yards in the field. That's 4th in the NFL. Since then, he's 16th in yards per pass attempt. He's 30th in air yards per target. And a league low 5% of his throws have gone 20 or more yards downfield. His 6 lowest games in deep target rate have come over these past 6 games. As a result, his interception rate has dropped from 3.4% to 2.2%. So it's probably a little bit from like both jars of like teams, them having to try to readjust how they get Jackson Smith-Njigba the football, teams trying to take him away downfield. And then also just saying like, hey, we're in a great spot with our run game, our offensive line, and this defense. Like, let's not have Sam Darnold lose us any games. And that's where we're in a spot with this game. So I think Seattle's going to lean on these running backs here. Wild card will just be Fred Warner. I think if we saw the clips today, like he was jumping around and
is that possible?
Okay. The dude, like, don't drug test Fred Warner this week. Just let it go a week, see what happens. But if he's back, it could just be like a huge shot in the arm because, like, the 49ers has been bad against the run. We saw it. Even Saquon Barkley went over 100 yards last week. So it feels like a really very balanced Seattle game. I won't just go over all the other stuff because we could talk about Brock Purdy and the defense, but Seattle feels like they can just play their game still. And if they just don't beat themselves, they'll be in a position to kind of control this game. And even if Fred Warner's at 50%, that's still such a massive help for this defense. They need it so badly.
Daigle, JSN or Puka?
Puka for me, just because I'm more excited about the leaks in the Rams and Bears defenses. So I'm just going to take that game script overall personally. But for Puka, it's at least, I believe right now in projections, it is only JSN and AJ Barner who is popping, even though Elijah Arroyo also looks like he could come back, and that absolutely matters for AJ Barner too. You might still get a tush-push run out, but beyond, and that could matter for such an ugly slate. But beyond that, though, we are talking about AJ Barner probably going back down to underneath 70% route participation. So there's one target here, but for me, it's more about Puka and the Rams and the Bears game.
Different positions, but JSN versus CMC, same game.
CMC last week, and by the way, I should also mention that, I like pie. And so whenever the world presents me a big slice of humble, I will gladly eat it. And between Colston Loveland, 80% rostered, I'd love to say I learned my lesson too. But if you told me I'm taking 11 points from Colby Parkinson at 11% into an 80% Colston Loveland night game, I'd probably do it again blindly, honestly. So Colston Loveland still buried me. And then, of course, Woody Marks faded him on the showdown slate, and he led the entire wildcard weekend in rushing. So two of the worst players to get off of entirely. But Christian McCaffrey, I think we saw against the Eagles, again, tough matchup with Jalen Carter. The usage is just still so good that even in the toughest spots, it's a spot where I still want to take that on unless you're comfortable taking on other running backs. I also like Kyron Williams this week, but beyond that, we talked about so far RJ Harvey, James Cook, other guys who have been worse on that kind of volume. So I still think Christian McCaffrey, just overall, just in terms of touch volume, it's pretty simple. Whenever a guy gets 30 touches, you're going to play him. I think he's too intricate for this slate to pass on overall, despite the tough matchup.
Daigle, besides humble, favorite kind of pie?
Pumpkin.
That's the incorrect answer.
There's only one correct answer, and it's pumpkin. So
there is one correct answer. It's not pumpkin. What the chat? Well, Rich, what's your thoughts?
I love a good peanut butter pie.
Peanut butter pie? That's a pie?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not aware of peanut butter pie.
You're gonna say chocolate, aren't you?
No, I don't even think that's a pie.
It's definitely a pie.
It's pecan. It's pecan pie.
That's the worst. That's the worst one. The glaze is always too sweet.
TJ's saying apple. Apple's the chalk. He's
the one clear one, so I went with chalk. And all of you threw out random, other than pumpkin, everybody else threw out random side pies.
Spelkowski in the chat said peanut butter pie is the RJ Harvey of pies.
I don't know peanut butter pie. Maybe I'm missing out.
We're all these people that hate peanut butter, man.
Weird. I'm a fan of a coconut cream pie.
Oh, key lime's a really good answer too.
Coconut's a deal breaker. Key lime, you got to be in Miami. So Tongas is going to be really popular here on DK. Rich, do we like Tongas as a chalk piece? Just kind of make stuff work.
Again, probably not. When these guys are chalk, I don't want to play these guys when they're going to be popular, right? I understand the allure of a short slate, and you're going to get a guy that's going to be on the field, but you look at these games, and Tongas has had some solid games, but he in the games without Kittle, his high was 60 receiving yards. And against a defense that could potentially shut down this offense, I kind of want to fade that if he's going to be the most popular play on the slate. I get it, in terms of saying all right, there's some elevation for him. But when you look at the Seattle defense in general and what they've done to Brock Purdy, Mike McDonald's thrown like a big time wrench in this passing game. In 5 career starts against Mike McDonald defenses, Brock Purdy has a 45% success rate. That's well below his career rate. He had a 37.5% success rate in his Week 18 matchup, his lowest rate of the season. In his 8 games with a success rate below 40%, 2 of those have come against Mike McDonald defenses. He averages 7.2 yards per pass attempt in those 5 games, 6 passing touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. He's got a sub 80 quarterback rating against Mike McDonald defenses. Against everyone else, 8.5 yards per pass attempt, a 6% touchdown rate, 103 rating. The 49ers have scored 19 points in one of those games against the Mike McDonald defense. If you do want like a carrot to chase here, like Purdy is 4-0 at Lumen Field, but that doesn't mean he scored fantasy points in those games. That'd be more if you were betting the 49ers money line and taking these 7.5 points, which do feel like a lot to lay here. Purdy has run a lot more to end the season. He's got 20 more rushing yards in 4 of his past 5 games, including the Week 18 game where he had 21 yards. But you're really hoping that like Shanahan just figures something out here, like kind of like McVay did in the second matchup. But when you remove Kittle from this offense too,
it's tough.
There's just not a lot that you're scared of. It really, you're reliant on scheme, right? And we saw that they generated enough splash plays against Vic Fangio last week that the game's got to be tight, but like there still wasn't a lot of fantasy richness to be had outside of the CMC spot. And then obviously we traced DeMarcus Robinson.
And when you're looking at the other side of it, like Rich touched on the Darnold stats, but also, you know, Darnold in his 2 games against the Robert Saleh defense this year, 5.4 in the opener when they were at full health. And then a couple weeks ago, he only had 8.8 fantasy points against them too, 0 touchdowns in both games. So it just seems like another underwhelming game after we're coming off of this, you know, needle in our arm wild card weekend.
Yeah, and I mean Kittle in Week 18 had 29 yards against Seattle.
Yeah.
By the way, FanDuel lost its mind. Like they adjusted to Kittle being out, and Tongas on FanDuel. That's why I specified Tongas on DK is going to be owned. Tongas on FanDuel is more expensive than Hunter Henry, more expensive than Dalton Kincaid. Like, what are we doing? Like, come on, you guys are out of your minds. Now, if you want to play, nobody's gonna roster him, nobody's gonna own him. Sure, I guess you can play that angle. But yeah, Tongas is 5'8" on FanDuel, Henry 5'5", Kincaid 5'4". I don't really know how you get there outside of just, you know, being different just for the sake of being different. I didn't want to bring up my nemesis, Kenneth Walker III, but he'll be carrying the ball, as will Zach Charbonnet. Daigle, who scores the touchdowns for Seattle on the ground? Are either worse rostering? We have to consider both because, you know, the pool is so small. How do we feel about the Seattle running backs? Home favorites.
I mean, Charbonnet always has the inside the 5 leverage. Kenneth Walker, though, of course, as we saw just a couple weeks ago in this game, he can still offer explosiveness and get there based on, 10-yard touches. But beyond that, it's still a split backfield, as we've seen again all year long. And Charbonnet's the one they prefer to grind it out inside the 5-yard line with goal line equity. So you can play both, certainly. You can play all 3 running backs in this game and just lock that up going into Sunday. You can take the touchdowns, you can take the explosiveness. But if you ask me to play one, I still think Charbonnet's ceiling is higher, given that he has more touchdown equity.
Anything you want to add to that, Rich? And just touch on how much you're prioritizing CMC amongst the big spends on this slate.
I like the angle of playing the 3 running backs from this game and then kind of, fading the popular if Harvey's going to be that popular. And because, just needing Harvey to bust is like well within the range of outcomes. But yeah, Charbonnet's out-touched Walker 30-10 inside the 10-yard line, 17-7 inside the 5-yard line if they get down there. Charbonnet's also played well the back half of the year. Like he's been a lot more efficient the back half of the season than he was. Like people were mad the front half of the year because Walker was outplaying Charbonnet and it feels like, come on, but it's been a lot more even. And both backs have actually been really good the back half of the year. And with Micah Williams off the field, San Francisco's 28th in yards per carry out to running backs. They have the lowest success rate against running back runs over that span. They're really bad against outside zone runs, which is obviously, the bread and butter for Kenneth Walker. He's 10th in the league in rate of outside zone runs. And when these teams played in Week 18, Seattle running backs had 15 outside zone runs for 5.5 yards per carry. Both backs had 20 touches in this game in Week 18. I don't think we'll quite get there again, but both guys are effective here. And if Walker does score, it's going to be long distance if he does. So it's in play to play both guys, but I would lean Charbonnet too if you force me to pick one.
I also think there's so many values that we're not really tight on this slate. If you want to play McCaffrey and Puka, I think you can get there.
Yeah.
You got a favorite pass catcher on San Fran, Rich? If you got to pick one, doesn't sound like we love anybody.
CMC.
Okay. It's a good.
I mean, he has.
Yeah.
I mean, he already has 29% and 26% target shares in the 2 times these teams played. And then he owns dead even 50-50 splits with and without Kittle. He's run 277 routes with Kittle on the field, or with him off the field, 266 with him off the field. And he has with Kittle off the field, 26% of the team's targets, 28.2% target share per route run, and he's averaged over 2 yards per on his 6 receiving touchdowns with Kittle off the field. And then with Kittle on the field, 21.5% target share, target on 22% of his routes with 3 touchdowns, 1.5 yards per route run. So he's going to be, I mean, they have to build the whole plane out of CMC. Like, this has to be a CMC win us this game thing. And it might not, and like could be like last week too, where Jennings threw him the ball. I mean, do you think the 2 touchdowns McCaffrey had last week, like, no running backs, there's just very few running backs in the league that are doing that. Like, how many running backs are tracking a ball like that one Jennings threw, like over his shoulder?
The wind
like,
kind of carried it.
Like, yeah. And then like he ran a Texas route from the opposite side of Purdy from the other way. And it was an awesome play by Purdy because he was like the 4th read on that play, and Purdy bought himself time. Purdy gets so disrespected on the out of structure plays, man. It's the biggest difference between Purdy and any other Shanahan quarterback, is that Purdy's so good out of structure and he's so good in terms of pocket movement, and he gets no credit for that. But man, yeah, it's got to be built out of CMC. So, because like these wide receivers, like, I mean, you're not going to chase the Demarcus Robinson game against Seattle. Plus, Pearsall's probably going to play, or at least he's trending to play. But the Seattle secondary, man, has just been so locked down against wide receivers this season. So you're going to need some big plays generated.
Daigle, who wins this game? Who covers, I guess? Oh, yeah, that's a better answer. Who does the Seattle cover?
What's the spread right now?
7.5?
No. I think 49ers cover and have a chance to outright here.
Okay. All right. I was thinking tease for Seattle, just kind of basically have to win. But you think?
I mean, the big one is, we talked about the rest advantage in the first game. I mean, this game, good Lord, Seattle, it'll be 13 days between games. The 49ers played on Sunday and have turned around for Saturday. Since 1984, when bye weeks were integrated in the postseason, teams with that big of a rest advantage went 7-0, just clobbered their opponents. So I'm most concerned about that, but also, it's not as big of an advantage as Kyle Shanahan to Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo, but I still think Shanahan and the 49ers and with Robert Saleh have a coaching advantage here. That's why I think Fred Warner, again, maybe in the other game, the regular season, I don't factor in as much, but even if Fred Warner is just kind of limping around at 30%, he probably helps this team. Like, they need him in this game.
Anything else here, or shall we move along? We're moving along. Oh, before we move along, do want to mention Pick Labs. Pick Labs is the newest Fantasy Labs feature that lets you scan the best player prop and pick 'em bets in seconds. Everything is broken down for you, from edges and win rates to value. It is a clean board showing which plays actually stand out across sportsbooks and sites like Underdog, Prize Picks. When you see something you like, Pick Labs are going to build the slip and send it straight to the book of your choice. For a limited time, you can get free access to a Fantasy Labs DFS sub. Visit, I don't have the actual site in front of me. I guess we can have that in the description on the YouTube. As you're clicking on that, also click on the like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, but do use the promo code FLEX20 for $20 off your first payment. All right, do check out Pick Labs. I've been messing around with that with some success, so it is worth checking out, especially if you happen to have a Fantasy Lab sub, or you get yourself $20 off your first payment. Let's talk about Sunday, Houston and the Patriots. 40.5 is a total. The Pats are 3-point favorites here at home. We are assuming, it seems very, very unlikely that Nico Collins is a go. Seems unlikely. I think right now our projections actually have him in for what it's worth, but this stuff is going to change. Patriots are home to the Texans. The Texans just beat up on Pittsburgh. They might have retired Aaron Rodgers. They might have retired Tomlin, at least, for the time being. How do we feel about Houston and the Patriots, Daigle?
It's a tough one just because we're carrying over that Texans offense from last week, and what was a rough spot for sure, but this one might be even rougher. I will say, for the 5 turnovers, CJ Stroud didn't play. Like, as bad. I know turnovers are the most detrimental thing you can do all of football, but even then, to be pressured on 49% of his dropbacks, and he finished with the second most passing yards of his career while under duress, 148 yards. That's key. Having said that, I think when you take Nico Collins off the field, it's such a big impact, especially like the way we talked about George Kittle taking him off for the Niners. We're now going back to Jaden Higgins, Christian Kirk, just this bumble of guys, whereas Christian Kirk doesn't have the same advantage. Last week, it made sense, especially in showdown, given that the Steelers were allowing the second most points per game to opposing slot receivers. The Patriots are at 19th. Having said that, even then, with Nico Collins off the field this year, 151 plays where Stroud has also played, Kirk does lead the team in being targeted on 38% of his routes. But I just think naturally, if you look up and you see CJ Stroud only throwing to Jaden Higgins and Christian Kirk, that's a really tough run out here for the Texans offense. So yeah, I think it's going to be another low scoring, brutal matchup where I'm probably more interested in playing it from the Patriots side. But even then, I don't know if I'm going to get the Drake May when we still have the second game to go here.
Jump in here, Rich. Your thoughts as far as New England and Houston. Feel free to start wherever you want to start.
Yeah, real good defensive matchup here. The two hottest teams too in the NFL. I mean, Patriots have won 14 in their past 15 games. Houston has the longest win streak in the league with 10 games. And, we saw last week too, the Patriots, winning a game that's not necessarily all about Drake May. The defense stepped up. We saw big plays from Ramondre Stevenson. That's what we kind of talked about going into last week, that the Patriots were a lot more of a complete team than I think given credit for towards the end of the season. Also, beating teams you're supposed to win is actually a sign of a good team. Meme that guy in the courtroom, like, the picture, like that's actually true. And, the Patriots were in a kind of a more of a slugfest last week than they've been, but like, they had 381 yards against the Chargers. That was the third most yards the Chargers allowed all season. They allowed the second most passing yards they allowed all season to Drake May. Like, yeah, it wasn't Drake May break the bank game, but like it was still proof of concept. Like, this is a good offense in context of the good defense that they face. So I'm very excited to see them take another step forward against the team that's clearly a rung up on defense. I mean, this Houston defense is absolutely incredible in terms of pass rush. And that's what's going to be interesting, because that's like the one bugaboo Mays kind of had, is that he will have the negative plays. Now, he will use his legs in an effective manner. He's tied for the NFL lead in scramble yardage created, but when pressured, he also is 27th in the league in sack rate. That's the highest rate of any quarterback in the postseason. He took 5 more sacks on Sunday night. He has a 14% sack rate when holding the ball more than 2.5 seconds, which is 27th in the league. He is 28th in terms of holding the ball, time to throw, 2.9 seconds from the snap. He's thrown the ball within 2.5 seconds, 31st highest rate in the league. That's at 35% of his snaps. And like, that's what the Houston defense is predicated on. You have to get the ball out against them. When teams have held the ball longer than 2.5 seconds against them, they have allowed a 46% completion rate. That's second in the NFL, 6.7 yards per pass. That's third. They have a 15% sack rate. That's fourth in the NFL. So it's got to be Drake May playing a little bit better of an internal clock than what he has this year, because he's a big game hunter. This offense loves to create explosives, and May, took a fumble. He had 2 fumbles. They got one back because he held the ball a little bit long last week. But that's what they're going to have to do. It's going to have to be a little bit more of a quicker passing game for this team against this Houston pass rush.
That's why it's tough to analyze May in this game, because given the schedule, we really don't have any comparables. Not that I can compare any defense to Houston's defense anyways, but the 2 best defenses they've played this year was Buffalo in both games, and Drake May didn't throw a pass touchdown against Buffalo in either game. At the same time, Buffalo does not have the same athletes, or they don't, make you go to bed having nightmares about them like this Texans pass rush.
That's points Houston. Yeah, that's a good point. Wow, I didn't realize he had 0 touchdowns against Buffalo, and
he got there in that second game with 40 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, which he can always do. He has 10 carries, like Rich alluded to. He has 10 carries in 2 of his last 4 games. He's really sprinting around here, so that could be enough, on this slate to definitely get him there. But through the air, I think it's a litmus test.
Diggs, Booty, Henry, how would you rank those guys? Everything considered, Daigle.
Gosh, they're still playing a rotation. That's the real issue. Last week also, they on the season were only at a 19% rate of 12 personnel. Last week against the Chargers, to bolster against the pass rush, they were at 36%, running Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper out there. So, between all the receivers, I actually think it could be Hunter Henry more than anyone, just because like we're also not looking at the same leaks that we had with Kayshon Boutte getting downfield targets. Houston really doesn't do that either. I have no idea where Derek Stingley goes in this, entire process in this game. But we've now seen 3 playoff games from Derek Stingley. He's allowed 6 catches on 15 targets for 77 yards, no touchdown. And so he's just been an absolute monster in these kind of like must-win spots. So I think it's just a much tougher matchup to play the outside receivers in this game.
You have a lean there, Rich, and also just give me your thoughts. Stevenson versus Henderson. Neither look great because they're facing, the Texans. We saw Stevenson get a bigger piece of the pie last week. I think that continues going forward, but we shall see. Skill position players on the Patriots. What do you got, Rich?
Yeah, it's everyone. It's everyone's involved. I mean, their leading rusher last week was Drake May, and the leading receiver was Ramondre Stevenson. Like, this is a team that uses everyone. They use all the tools that they have. You don't really see a lot of big games. I will say we were hoping though. Diggs didn't fill the box score up, but like he did play as a full-time receiver, and like that's kind of what we were looking for. It's like, are they going to finally play him when it's time for the postseason? He did run a route on 85% of the dropbacks, the second highest rate of the season. Like I said, didn't fill the box score, but tough matchup again for them. I mean, just he does get a little bit of leeway because he plays a little bit more in the slot than all the other Patriots guys, but like you're still not expecting a lot of ceiling performances against. It's like we talked about with Seattle, right? And like, against the Eagles, like these are teams that just are good top-down pass defenses, and they just don't give up the book a lot. Like to like, so it's really hard to say like one of these guys is going to smash and say like this is the key to the slate, is like you needed one of these guys. So I think it's going to be a sum of a parts, all hands on deck. I think this game is going to be relatively low scoring. I think both passing games are probably going to struggle in this game a little bit, and then it's going to be like just kind of who makes a mistake in this game, right? And then in the backfield, Ramondre's played good football like the past month. We talked about it last week, being in on him. Over the past 6 games, he is averaging 9 yards per touch, and to be fair, Travion Henderson's averaging 5.5 yards per touch over this span. Like, it doesn't suck. It's just Stevenson's been really hyper efficient. I will say though, like he's not going to keep averaging like 15 yards a catch. Like that's just like running backs don't do that. And like that, there's probably going to be like a comeuppance and like some come down to earth for like the hyper efficiency he's had in the receiving game. But it's again, like I just don't know if any of these guys are any guys like you have to win the slate. I think it's me more of like who contributes to winning this football game more. This game feels like an absolute fist fight.
You like the under 40.5?
I definitely like the first half under in this game. But anytime you have the under with these guys, with the Texans especially, like you might get some defensive touchdowns. Like,
nobody went to screw up. They had 2 last week and still the game went under, I think.
It did, yeah. But I mean, they're not holding. I will be surprised if the Patriots score 6 points in this game.
Yes, I'll take the over on 6.
And you also
remember May's first start came against this Houston defense, like last year, and he still found his way to 20 fantasy points in that game.
And you can't copy paste the Woody Marks production either. It was the first career game that Marks went over 75 rushing yards. Like I said, it happened to also lead the entire weekend, Saquon Barkley included, and rushing yards in particular, because he hit a 42% success rate against that Chargers front 7, or against the Steelers front 7. The Steelers, who were also incredibly wonky all year in terms of their rush defense, because like when they honed in and had to stop someone like Jahmyr Gibbs or a Saquon Barkley, they did do it. But then like other running backs, they just wildly let loose because they weren't as focused on them. But against this Patriots defense with Williams back the past couple of weeks, it's not the same caliber of talent, but Jalen Wright only averaged 1.7 yards per carry. Kamani Vidal last week, just 2.8 yards per carry. So I'm definitely not chasing the Woody Marks, even though he's going to get 20 touches, the Woody Marks production.
Why doesn't he catch the ball? I don't understand. Why don't they throw him the ball?
I think that's more of a CG Stroud check down thing. Not really a Woody Marks can earn target in the NFL thing. Could be wrong. That could be proven incorrect in a couple of years. But he was a receiving back in college. That's the weirdest part about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen that though. I mean, Nick Caley comes from the McVay tree, and that they don't throw to running backs either. So I mean, it's probably a little bit of product of the system, and then some of Stroud not throwing to running backs. Stroud's 23rd in target rate to running backs. He did get some targets with Davis Mills because Davis Mills was more willing to check it down. But if this would be a game for him to find some production, because that's like the 24% of the receptions the Patriots have gone to running backs at the 3rd highest rate in the league. They're not running. Like, this team is not going to line up against the Patriots to run the football. In a game that Milt Williams played, the most rushing yards they've given up to a running back is 53 yards. And then we'll see if Kyrus Tonga's back too. They gave him one more week last week, but he's expected to be back this week too. So I'm not going to chase that rushing performance, which was the best rushing performance that they had. It was their second most rushing yards they had in a game this season, but like the first game came against like that Baltimore defense that was like just a group of dudes that they threw on the field that week.
Kirk is 4-1 on DK. It feels like FanDuel is similar to Tonga's kind of overcorrected. He's 6-1 over there. Assuming Collins isn't going to play, that seems like the most likely scenario. Is this something we're chasing? Are we chasing Kirk here, Daigle?
Me, no, personally. I talked about earlier just how the matchup is entirely different in the slot as opposed to that Mike Tomlin defense that had leaked receiving production to the slot all year long. I would much rather chase an ancillary player in like the Rams Bears game, a game I think goes off, as opposed to trying to chase like season high production from Kirk.
Yeah, and not even we didn't mention Schultz. I don't know if we did. I feel like it was was Schultz even acknowledged? If he was, I missed it. My apologies. I was looking at the chat.
He was not acknowledged.
Rich, do you want to acknowledge the presence of Schultz, and how do you feel about 4-1 Kirk? 6-1 on FanDuel seems a little tougher to swallow.
Yeah, especially the non-PPR. So it's tough to chase. I will say like he gets a little bit of the matchup advantage here too, just because Gonzalez isn't going to follow him, but it's just real hard. Like, I mean, he had more yards on Monday night than he had over his previous 10 games. It's just real hard to like chase. And he only ran a route on 2/3 of the dropbacks because he's still a primary slot receiver. So we're still going to see Jaden Higgins fill in that Nico Collins role. So you might be able to chase him. They're still playing Xavier Hutchinson a lot, so it is, they were reluctant. They weren't even going to play Jaden Higgins in that game. But then when Nico left, obviously he's the replacement. So he was on the field for 100% of the dropbacks after Nico left that game. But they weren't going to play Nolan Higgins at all, or Nolan Higgins in that game. It was going to be Hutchinson, Kirk, and Collins. They weren't even going to trust those guys.
And even with Justin Watson injured last week, they've just blasted Jalen Noel like out of the offense entirely.
Anything else as far as Houston and the Patriots?
Defensive matchup. I'm excited to see if Drake May excels in his toughest matchup of the year.
Is Houston like the best defense to play? I know not that New England's the worst offense, but Houston might be the best defense. Seattle.
I mean, they are
in the 4 game.
They are the best defense, but like couldn't something wonky in Buffalo Denver happen? Like, I feel like those quarterbacks make enough mistakes where I'd rather just like play the Buffalo against Bo Nix or something, or the other way.
Well, they're actually cheap on DK. Bills are the 3rd cheapest at 2.6. Broncos 2.8, just above them. Pats most expensive, 3.6 on DK. Texans 3.4. Seattle 3.2. So I don't know.
I'm excited. I'm excited for this game, though. I do think that I do think that whoever wins this game has a real good shot to beat either of the other teams in the other game the next round.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the nature of the playoffs, though, right? It's just so wide open.
Yeah. But I mean, especially because these AFC teams, obviously you have the Bills, their experience, and they deserve to be kind of the betting favorite at this point. But all these teams are really like strong on both sides. I think even stronger than the Bills, but the Bills defense gets underrated too. They're just banged up. It's, everyone forgets that because everyone loves picking on Sean McDermott, but like he showed it again last week, man. Like he can totally confuse quarterbacks, man. He had Trevor Lawrence on both interceptions, completely had no idea what he was looking at pre and post snap.
Let's talk about the hammer game. The hammer game that is the Rams and the Bears. I think the most appealing game for us from a DFS perspective. The Rams are in Chicago. 48.5 is the total. Rams currently 3.5-point favorites. Now, Roth has a huge blurb on this. He wrote a lot about this game here in Chicago. Long story short, he does not think it's a lot of snow, but a snow shower or flurry is possible. The cold is a little impactful. The wind is a little impactful. The snow can be a little bit impactful. And the sum of all those little issues can be a bump down on offense and special teams. But again, circle back on this. I'll let you get us started here, Rich. Rams in Chicago, 48.5 total. Rams, one of the biggest team totals on the board right there with Seattle as far as team totals. Start wherever you want to start.
Yeah, assuming that big weather is wrong, like they've consistently batted 0% this year, they'd wait for the playoffs to get one through on us. But, remain to be seen until Sunday. We know it's going to be cold. Who knew it'd be cold in Chicago at night in January? Shocking development I must say. But assuming like there's nothing wonky that like super impacts things. Remember, even last week going into the Packers game, like people were sending all the pictures of the stadium, right? Like the snow coming down and everything. And by the time it kicked off, it wasn't even like really impactful. Obviously, Caleb threw for 360 yards. Love threw for 4 touchdowns. It was a fun game. And it's kind of what we have still on paper in this game. We've got 2 teams that gain offenses in chunk yards. Chicago is number 1 in plays per game. They gain 10 or more yards. The Rams are number 2. The Rams are second in plays per game. They gain 20 or more yards. The Bears are 4th. Also, these teams don't make mistakes very often. Chicago and the Rams are number 1 and number 2 in plays per game that result in a sack or turnover. And then both defenses, like we can absolutely pick on. Chicago's 30th in the league in defensive success rate. It's the worst of all remaining playoff teams. I mean, you've seen it. Ben Johnson does it. He was going for the first half, 4th and 5s on his own 28-yard line because he didn't believe in his defense. Just didn't believe in his defense. The Bears do get a lot of takeaways. We said the Rams don't really turn the ball over a lot. When they don't get a takeaway, they're 27th in points allowed per drive. And then we've seen the Rams, progressively taper off now to end the season. Over the past 7 games, they're 23rd in points allowed per drive, 25th in touchdown rate per drive. They're 30th in yards per play over the past 7 weeks. So they've been kind of leaky as well. So this game does set up, if there's nothing weird in terms of wind, we know it's gonna be cold, but as long as there's nothing in terms of wind, this is set up to be kind of like that game. Like if you didn't wait to the end, there's gonna be a lot of pieces owned in this game.
What is ownership showing early, Dean, in terms of Rams offense?
Let's see. I can pull up DK
because I do believe, as you look it up, I believe what Big Weather Roth is saying. Don't get me wrong. But when we talk about getting to the top of the tournament, I'm also going to say I don't care. And I'm going to play into it. So and cross my fingers, ownership is down because of weather, which again, we have not seen stunt us once yet in DFS this year.
Dude, think about last time we saw Matthew Stafford in the playoffs last year. He played in a blizzard against the Eagles and threw for 300, a better defense, like the Eagles defense, threw for 324 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Again, do not assume these numbers are going to be perfect. They will be refined as we close in. But right now we have Puka at 44% on DK, Kyron at 22, Devontae at 19, Stafford 14, Parkinson 12, Higbee 12. Parkinson more expensive. He did get more reps. Well, no, I think Parkinson got the touchdown. He was also on the field more too, right? I believe. Is that
just
correct?
The edge, yeah, just the edge.
Yeah. So, and Corum barely 7% for Corum, and nothing really else of notes as far as the not that we're taking in the Mumford or those kind of guys, but yeah. So Puka 44%. That's not terribly surprising, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm going to cross my fingers for sure that everyone's worried about weather, and I'm going to play this game. I'm interested in both sides just because Caleb Williams is also the kind of quarterback, as we've seen now, where he's really defying the difference between the stats and the film bros. Because, like, if you just look at the stats, they're not even that great. Like the completion rate, everything like that, not great. But then he makes throws like, the and one jump man, 4th and 15 to Romo Dunze over the top. He just makes some throws that I've only seen vintage Aaron Rodgers ever make. It's incredible. And like Reeb said, Ben Johnson is someone who understands that his defense is closer to the Saints Super Bowl team under Sean Payton, and that they're not good. They're just agents of chaos. That's how they have to win, is just hoping for some turnover luck and just doing the best they can without the dam absolutely exploding underneath them. So I love both sides of this game. If the field is going to give me Stafford stacks, at will, at lower ownership, I'm going to play it that way too and run some Bears across from it, especially because, like, even with Tyler Higbee back, no Terrence Ferguson in that game, but 74% of the targets went to Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. Like, Matthew Stafford targeted 2 players. That's it. So if you're telling me we also get a honed-in target tree against the Bears secondary, I'm going to play into that every time.
I didn't build anything out, but now I'm just curious, like if you put that in, Stafford, Puka, and then Adams, like, do you have the salary to build a lineup that's respectable? You might end up going double tight end from there, but I think have you guys tried to figure that out?
I've not played with lineups at all yet.
Yeah. Just trying to see if you can kind of make that work, because
you would definitely have to play Walker and Charbonnet together, as we talked about, to spin down at running back, which again, I don't mind at all.
I think you can play. I'm thinking about this game as like a run, but I think you could play Loveland or Swift. I think Swift is probably cheap enough where you can make that work. Or Burden. Burden's still 4.7 on DK. Who's your favorite run back for Chicago?
Yeah, it's still a mucky target tree. Well, one, let's of course go to Colston Loveland here. Last week we saw that once the Rams, and they could have gave up production beyond that, like Dave Canales and Bryce Young have played somewhat well against them in the 2 games this year. But whenever they lost to Kella Witherspoon, the Rams did in the second quarter, like Jalen Coker from that point forward had 7 catches for 116 yards and a touchdown. Like they just kind of had a much easier time going to their wide receivers after that. And so I still like Luther Burden and Colston Loveland. We say that every single week. That's kind of the way I play it with Caleb Williams. But again, if you want to also sprinkle in DJ Moore here, we are talking about another week where Rome Odunze gets healthier, but because we believe their offense is going to consistently go for it, we can still get another wild 300-yard outing as we did last week from Caleb.
I believe Rome did run a lot of routes, right, Rich? He was only targeted 6 times, but he was out there a good bit, right?
He was in there 72%. It was second behind DJ Moore, who's always kind of the leader in that capacity. I mean, just in general, like, so that, the dichotomy of Caleb is very interesting, but it's like, because what Caleb is doing, and whenever he trusts his eyes as much as he currently trusts his arm, like, man, he like the upside is still tremendous if like those 2 things ever in his career like ever become a marriage. But what he's doing right now is like, you see Caleb bypass a lot of checkdowns and completions that could inflate his completion percentage or make them better and smooth out his completion percentage because it's really low at the bottom of the league, and taking on more throws that come with a lower, terms of success rate or probability, but a lot more upside. And then we see that too, like when he's pressured, that's why he's constantly moving and leaving the pocket, because we've already seen him calibrate in terms of just adjustments and not taking sacks, like those negative plays. We talked about that. They're number 1 in the NFL in sacks plus turnovers per game. When he's been pressured, only 40% of his dropbacks remain in the pocket. It's the lowest of any quarterback in the NFL. And what he's doing on those plays outside the pocket when pressured, he averages 13 air yards per attempt. That's 4th in the NFL. So like I said, he's out of structure plays. He's trying to turn into big gains and chunk gains. So that's why his, completion rate and success rate and stuff tends to be lower at the bottom end of the league. And then he has these high upside per target. So you can use that to your advantage, especially in terms of like a tournament slate and a short slate as well. Some of these guys like a Rome or Luther Burden. Rome, like, again, he takes a leap of faith, but it's a 4-game slate. 25, he's felt the brunt of this. 25% of his targets this year have been inaccurate throws. But the Rams, we talked a little bit about their defense kind of leaking out. The secondary is kind of where they've been really hurting. They're 30th and now in points allowed to outside receivers, 28th in yards per target allowed to those outside receivers. And over their past 7 games, they're 25th in receptions allowed to those outside receivers per game, 31st in yards per game, and they've allowed 7 touchdowns. So there at least is a chance, like if people don't want to play him, he could still turn in like a big upside game. As well. So don't want to ignore him completely. I mean, I'm not going to be like overly bullish and like say I'm going to go like crazy on him, but I don't want to ignore him either because he still was out there a good amount and he still has kind of some matchup advantage. And I do think Caleb could throw for yards in this game as well.
And that's the kind of play I think of whenever we talk about chasing Christian Kirk. It's like, well, I'd actually rather take this dart from another high flying quarterback instead of chasing the chalk.
I asked Daigle this earlier, Rich. Puka versus JSN.
I think Puka should be in 100% of lineups, like hands down at this point. He should not be a guy that you should even get fade and cute with. Well, one, in general, I think this matchup sets up really just tremendously for the Rams. I mean, obviously the Bears have been a defense we picked on all year, but the Rams kind of have carte blanche in this matchup here because if they're going to play heavier, and last week we thought they would play more 11, and they did. They actually ran their highest rate 11 personnel since the last time they played Carolina. They used 13 personnel, but in the run game. Here, I think they're going to actually play a lot of 13 personnel because it's going to put the Bears in like a big time quandary, especially with this injury to TJ Edwards. So the Bears, when they have faced 13 personnel this season, like they have chose to combat it with nickel, the second highest rate in the NFL behind the Seattle Seahawks. But they don't have Nick Manowari. And TJ Edwards was like kind of their guy. He was like their hybrid player. He was like the best guy. They had like combination of playing the run and the pass. And so if the Bears are going to play nickel against 13 when the Rams go heavy, they're just going to run down their throat. And if the Bears choose to come up and play like more base, they're going to be able to just throw on them. So the Bears have been absolutely just garbage against the play action pass this year. And we obviously know Matthew Stafford, number 1 in the NFL in play action rate this season. So the Bears are allowing a 68% completion rate on play action passes, 9 yards per pass attempt. That's 30th in the NFL. They're 23rd in touchdown rate. And this all ties back to kind of like where we're going with Puka Nacua, because if they're going to be running play action, I mean, Puka Nacua, who already has a 27% target share or higher in 9 straight games, he's averaging 4 yards per out run on these play action passes. So, I mean, it sets up in like a really just great spot for the Rams. If there's no like goofy weather stuff in this game, I mean, the Rams are scoring 30 points in this game.
If we don't play Puka for whatever reason, I think you're supposed to play Kyren, right? If you don't have Puka in your lineup, play Kyren. No, maybe.
I think it's tough. It's a tough conversation because on one hand, the Rams running backs can have success, but Kyren only separated in terms of he caught the receiving touchdown, and that's what you're banking on. Whereas it was still Kyren with 15 touches to Blake Coleman's 13 as they rotated drives. So if Kyren doesn't catch, and it was a good receiving touchdown, but if Kyren doesn't catch that and pummel his way to the end zone, then they really become 2 inedible players there in slate. So you can instead play it through the passing game. But again, it's also tough because the Rams running backs can easily have success here too, given that like the past few weeks we've talked about the Bears running defense were really just behind the scenes. They had been one of the worst defenses in terms of yards before and after contact per attempt. And then they got run over by Christian McCaffrey in week 17. Week 18, Jahmyr Gibbs had an explosive day, scored a touchdown. And then last week, like even the 3 leaders in yards before contact overall on the week were Chris Brooks, Jaden Reed, and Jordan Love. Like they were still leaking big plays to other players. And so again, I think the Rams running backs can have success, but what I believe is ultimately you're just chasing the touchdown in what is a split backfield. So that's why it's a hard conversation.
I should have said one of Kyren or Quorum, but even then, it's not a.
It'd still be Kyren for me if I pick one.
Yeah. Salary is the thing, but yeah, certainly Kyren. But the split is a little more than it's a little close, a little too close for Kyren. Don't love it, but certainly he can get there. Rich, it sounds like your favorite team offense this amongst these 8 teams is the Rams. Would you agree with that, Daigle? Rams best offense?
Yeah, for sure. And again, I still may play some Caleb through it too, but Stafford, Puka, Devontae, absolutely. Yeah.
Could we play 6 players in this game?
Yes.
Is that something? I haven't built anything out, but I think you can, right? Yeah. You just kind of have the ultimate.
Burden Loveland tack on a tight end. Yeah, you can do that for sure.
The defense in one of the other games, obviously. Yeah, the ultimate hammer, I suppose, and hopefully the playoffs are pretty quiet. Otherwise,
it's going to be fun. It's going to be incredible. I can't wait. Even like for as much as made about the Bears being like the cardiac Bears and the comeback in the fourth quarter, it's kind of the same thing, like slow starts for the Rams and then Stafford being the MVP and leading them down the field. That's kind of what happened against the Panthers too last week. And the terms of the regular season, first quarter EPA, Stafford is 18th, Caleb Williams is 21st. But then in the fourth quarter, Stafford is 3rd in EP per play. Caleb Williams increases to 11th overall. So it's kind of a situation where also, like, if you wanted to bet like Rams first half and then Bears total, like Bears overall game, you could do that too, just because I think we are looking at Rams first half lead and then coin flip fourth quarter.
Do you know what you're doing? Do you have plans already for Sunday night? Have you figured it out?
I mean, you can't go to another space. You got to keep the momentum going. So you have to go back to the same spot.
Are you superstitious?
In terms of things I like, yeah. Otherwise, no. Like when the Mavs won the championship in 2011, I had the same routine of like the same Tyson Chandler jersey and the same, like I had to, because the one day I needed to wear it out to the bar, I put it in the washer during the first round before I went out. And so from that day forward, every single game, I put it in the washer before I went out and then wore it out. So you're welcome, Mavs fans.
Ever the contrarian, and not a Dirk jersey, but a Tyson Chandler jersey.
I also have like a Jay Ratliff Cowboys jersey around here somewhere.
Amazing. All right. Anything else here as far as Rams, Bears, Rich, Daigle?
Well, I mean, like I said, there's still a lot. A few more things here still to touch on. Like you guys talked about the Rams backfield being kind of a split. Like Kyren he's gone over 16 touches in just one of his past 10 games. And there's a similar split on the other side too. DeAndre Swift has had a little bit of a touchdown edge, but we're still seeing like a 50-50 split with this backfield. Just the separator has been the touchdowns have gone to Swift. The Rams did have a good game against Carolina last week, but I mean, we did see, kind of the 2 weeks before, they were really kind of hurting against teams that really were, again, another prime outside zone run teams, the Atlanta Falcons and the Seattle Seahawks. They gave up 252 yards the Atlanta backfield that game before Arizona, and 218 yards the Seattle backfield the week before that. And that's the bread and butter of the Chicago run game. And Chicago is a team that, you look at them since their week 6 bye, and they're number one in success rate running the football. Against these outside zone runs, I mean, the Rams are 24th in yards allowed per carry. So do you think there's some success here through the Bears backfield too, as well? I think these guys can be effective. And then, if you're choosing a tight end in this game too, we didn't really touch on the Rams tight ends either, really.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned Higbee and Parkinson in passing. Do you have a preference amongst those two, Rich?
Yeah, it's still Parkinson, like, again, last week, because I like touchdowns, right? Like, if it's going to be a tight split, Colby Parkinson has the most touchdowns of any tight end over his past 10 games. And, like, he's been kind of the guy that still gets in the box more often, has been more projectable. It was basically 50-50, 23 routes to 20 between him and Higbee. But I'd prefer to chase the touchdown upside. You
feel the same, Daigle?
I do. Yes, I wish I had a better read on how much Terrence Ferguson will play, since he was supposedly close last week and then scratched altogether. But for me, yes, it is Parkinson. And like I said, I played Parkinson last week too.
I just counted them quickly. I think that was 9 Parkinson touchdowns since week 10. Is that correct, Rich?
Yep.
When you said most touchdowns, you're saying in the NFL, right?
Yeah, of any tight end.
I was actually kind of shocked at how little Higbee played, honestly. I thought he was going to play more and more of a split, but it was more in terms of commanding for Parkinson last week.
It was a hell of a catch, too. That was a great catch and throw, the touchdown for Parkinson to win the game there.
Their tight ends are all, like, everyone forgets about the month where Higbee became Rob Gronkowski a few years ago, too. I think that was when I was living with Silva in the basement. All their tight ends are, Terrence Ferguson as well, are super athletic or receivers.
I just did a quick, you go on ESPN. If you go on ESPN, they show you the games. They show you like a link to buy tickets, and they show like the cheapest tickets for Bears. I thought the tickets were $1,000 last week, but according to this link on ESPN, you can get into the game, Daigle. Rams Bears as low as $431.
It's actually really good. That's a great deal.
Yeah. According, I guess it connects to Vivid Seat. They're not a sponsor, but it connects to Vivid Seats. And I think they probably hit you with some crazy, service fees and all that kind of stuff as well, I imagine. But
I think everyone's also scared off because, like, I knew enough people that went to the game last week that I heard about the horror stories of getting out of Soldier Field. Because if you don't know, there's one way in and one way out. Like, it's a pathway for pedestrians. It is an absolute terror to go to any event at Soldier Field, which is why they want to move it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Most expensive ticket, by the way, Seattle, $493, Denver, $425, New England, $260. They're just spoiled up there in New England. They don't. Maybe in the AFC Championship game they'll show up, but whatever. This is.
We also forget how loud it is for Seahawks playoff games, like how big of a deal it is there.
The 12th man. The 12th man is legit. By the way, Daigle, who wins? Did you want to tell the people, are the Bears going to win this game or no?
I bet the Bears unbiasedly plus 4.5 when it first opened. You can't get that number anymore.
That's
I genuinely, like I said, I think it's a coin flip game. Like the Rams are the better team, but the Bears are the 2024 Washington Commanders. So I have no idea. They could be the team of destiny with two people that are amazing at what they do in Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, people that are easy to cheer for as well. Someone in Ben Johnson that's bringing rivalries back, as opposed to like every other coach who's ever coached for Chicago gets compared to Mike Ditka. No one even mentions Mike Ditka when they talk about Ben Johnson because he's carving his own path already here. So I don't know who wins.
And Ditka would hate the way, Ben Johnson called the game. He would despise it.
That ball at the 28-yard line would have been punted so quickly.
Oh, imagine Phil Simms in the booth. Like, he would have lost his mind. Like, seeing, how are they not punting it? Yeah. All right. Besides Rams Bears, Rich, give me your favorite stack on the slate.
Probably, man, Those other games are pretty rough.
Yeah, the 3 other games.
there are 3 other games. In terms of stacking, I don't know, man, it's like favorite stack. It's rough. I mean, I think the chalkiest one is probably like Allen, Shakir, Kincaid, but probably Bo Nix. I think just being a wild card in like a small field tournament stands out. Like Nix Sutton.
Sutton, yeah.
Is that what you'd have, Daigle? Who'd you think of as far as your favorite stack outside of Rams Bears?
Allen, Shakir, Kincaid, Harvey is the chalkiest stack, right?
Yeah, probably.
I can't say that then.
Probably. But like it's hard to. I don't want to say that definitively, but that makes sense. That definitely makes sense.
I can't say that then. So I guess Nick Sutton Kincaid would be my next up.
All right. Anything else that needs to be said as far as the 4-game or anything we're keeping our eye on? We did mention, most likely Collins is going to be out. Anything else of note? Anything we're monitoring throughout the week here, Daigle?
Are there any injuries we're monitoring that are important?
Just Gonzalez, but I think he's tracking to get expedited through.
He had Christian Gonzalez had the non-contact jersey on today, but he was also participating in practice, and it's the playoffs. So I just think they figure it out.
They grade on a curve when they run those tests, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
I mean, usually if you're practicing like this early, you're probably tracking to clear.
You got to get carted off like Nico Collins. Like you can't,
or have a second one like Nico Collins.
Oh yeah, a second one too.
All right. Anything else, boys?
The Texans were cautious with Stroud when he had his too. Oh, that was a nasty one. The Stroud one, his head bounced off the turf.
I don't think we see. Even if the Texans pull it off, I don't think we see him again next week either. That's the second one in 2 months, and it took a cart to get into the locker room. Like that's bad.
You don't see that. I mean, maybe I just never noticed it. Like concussions and a cart. Like you typically don't. I feel like you don't see that very often.
I mean, he was woozy getting on the field.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk. I guess I like Daigle's shot on just playing the 3 running backs in the Seattle San Francisco game. I did like that one as well.
CMC, Walker, and Charbonnet. Play all 3 of those.
Yeah. Well, especially if Harvey's going to be chalk, man. If guys like Harvey and Tonjes are going to be really popular, like those are dudes I don't want to play at high ownership.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Tongas, you understand why he's projecting well. Like you get it.
Sure.
Like,
but he can't be. Yeah. I mean, like you said on FanDuel, he's more expensive than Kincaid. Like that's wild.
Get out of town on FanDuel. Like, please get out of here. It's an overreaction. Like the FanDuel guys, and they bumped up Kirk probably too high as well. I'm not saying you can't do it, but I think he's 6'1" over there. He had a big week and good for him. And we're expecting Collins to be out, but still, it seems a little ambitious. Okay. I believe that's it. That's
it for all of us.
I think that's it for football. We're going to talk about our movies. Hey, so I have a quick question here. You're a free agent coach, Rich. What team do you want to coach? You get your pick of the 8 or 9 vacancies. Where do you want to go?
Baltimore.
Because Lamar?
Yeah, you got the best quarterback.
Yeah. Okay. Daigle, you have a different answer?
I want to be the Lions OC or
Mike McDaniel?
That'd be so hot. Even though it does make more sense for Mike McDaniel to join DeMeco Ryans and push that offense, which also would be a lot of fun instead. But yeah, it's strange because Tomlin's not going to coach. Tomlin's retired. But if Tomlin were to come back, he should go to a setup team like Baltimore. Like he shouldn't go to a team that's mediocre. He has to either go to a team that is forced to rebuild, since we all know he won't rebuild since he's wearing his 500 badge, which is like a marathon bumper sticker. Like he won't rebuild. Thus, he needs to go to an elite team or one that's dust right now. And gosh,
Giants, I would say, are a wild card.
Giants are fun though because they have the front 7 talent. They just didn't put it together. But
you got Dart, you got Neighbors.
You got Burns.
Neighbors comes back, mostly intact. Yeah.
You got Burns. I mean, you have a good defense. You need to add secondary pieces and
you got a left tackle. You got
another wide receiver. Yeah, dude.
You got pieces. It's just the surviving in New York.
Sure.
Do we think Tom will be good in the booth if not the booth, like the studio? I think he'd be good.
Well, actually, I would say probably not. I don't think he's going to offer anything extra than like dudes like Greg Olsen are providing now. I think he's just going to be like kind of a lot of what we've had in the past.
I just saw a story on Twitter today of somebody bringing up that they saw Mike Tomlin in the bathroom and they were peeing at the urinal beside each other. And after he washed his hands, he shakes the guy's hand and goes, "Hey, great piss, great to meet you." And so that tells me he's going to be great in the booth.
I wasn't sure where that story was going, TJ.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I think that Daigle's going to step out just for a second, but we're bringing TJ in now. TJ Zwarich, he's been producing the whole time. He's been listening. We're going to bring in Rob Coakley as well. TJ, did you have any thoughts as far as the slate? I don't know how much you've dug into it. TJ also knows you can't piss on hospitality. He knows that. Any general thoughts on the 4-gamer?
I told that story today, actually, when I was doing my interviews. I was waiting in the green room with the other reporters. We were kind of shooting the shit. And so I told that story because I was like, oh, I forgot. I got to get home and go watch Ballad of Wallace Island. And someone was like, why on earth would you have to hustle back to watch Ballad of Wallace Island? And so I just explained the whole thing and the Troll 2 aspect of it all. But no thoughts on today's slate. Listening to you guys break it down was the first I've looked at it yet.
Also joining us, Rob Coakley. Rob from Hometown Ghost Stories, from Spike Week. Welcome, Rob. Have you dove in just yet? If you haven't, no worries. Do you have any general thoughts on week? I was going to call it a week. It's on the 4-game slate here.
No, I mean, I think in general, if you can find a way to fade CMC and Puka and be right, you can win a lot of money easily. But I mean, that's going to be difficult on this slate.
You know what you can do it, Rob? You can play Jackson Smith and Jigba. You can play Jackson Smith and Jigba. That is something you can do. That's going to lose us money. But you guys picked the wrong team. The team you want to coach for is the Pittsburgh Steelers, because they have this tradition in line where they want to keep their coaches for 20 years.
It's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like if you can go there.
Baltimore, though.
That's one coach. The Pittsburgh one is they've had 3 coaches, I think, since 1959.
Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Tomlin, the 3 coaches since 1968 or something like that.
Yeah, it's an.
Listen, you only have to be successful and make the playoffs every year and win some Super Bowls,
or just mediocre. Just make the playoffs every other year, and they'll probably keep you. So Pittsburgh's the job you want. I think Atlanta's sneaky fun though. As for a coaching job,
I think I live in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's kind of cold. I don't know.
I kind of like
Baltimore's only had 3 coaches in their entire career.
They've been around since 2001, TJ.
I'm just saying that's since 1996, and there's been 3 coaches. That's basically the same thing.
I also don't think the Giants were always going interim coaches are never going to get brought back unless you're the Raiders and you don't care. So you want to bring back Antonio Pierce. But I think a lot of coaches were more in a hurry. A lot of teams were more in a hurry to fire their coaches after Harbaugh hit the market. It's otherwise, you'll just settle with Nick Sirianni and just do some changes around it, whatever.
Does anybody want to guess how many coaches the Oakland Las Vegas Raiders have had since the year 2000? Who wants to guess?
I mean, it's literally every otother year, right?
Well, look, Greg Olson, who became their offensive coordinator, that was the 3rd time he's been their offensive coordinator.
So Josh McDaniels.
I'm talking head coaches.
16.
11.
We got 16.
11.
Daigle?
Since 2011?
2000. Since 2000.
15.
And Rich?
I'll say 9. There's been some terrible ones. Hugh Jackson, Antonio Pierce. I mean, they've had 3 different ones in a row, right? It's 3. They're 3 for 3.
So AI is telling me what's hilarious. It says leading the league with about 15 head coaches. AI can't even count them.
Well, Antonio Pierce doesn't count.
It says about 15 coaches. You can't tell me the exact number. You're AI. If you can't do that, if you can't count to 15, Bill Callahan, Hugh Jackson, Tom Cable.
Tom Cable.
I forgot about Tom Cable.
Jack Del Rio and his leather jacket.
Oh yeah.
John Gruden twice. Art Shell, was Art Shell coaching in 2000?
Yeah, they brought him back.
That's right.
He came back. Yeah, he came back for a year or 2.
Yeah.
Oh,
it is 14 different head coaches, and now I understand why. I'm as anti-AI as anybody there is, but I actually understand how they screwed this up, because there are 14 different coaches since the year 2000, but 15 total coaches of the team, because it was Gruden twice.
There you go. I guess, but they couldn't. Fair enough. But 15 is a lot.
Lane Kiffin was the head coach there.
Was Lane Kiffin on the list?
Yeah, he was a
Art
coach there.
Shell, Lane Kiffin,
Yes,
Tom
yes.
Daigle, three in a row.
Yeah, and Josh McDaniels, I think I didn't mention him. Antonio Pierce, of course, that was a hell of a run. Rich Bissaria was an interim coach.
Rich
Basaccia.
yeah.
Okay.
He was
Yeah.
a special teams coach.
He beat out, as he should have. He beat out Zach Taylor that year for Coach of the Year, second place. That was the Bengals Super Bowl run, because everyone was well aware even then that Zach Taylor was riding the coattails of Joe Burrow, whereas Bisaccia, even to get that team to like barely 500, did a good job.
Wait, Rich Bisaccia was the NFL Coach of the Year?
No, he was second. I believe that was the year Mike Vrabel won for the Titans, because that's the year that Vrabel literally took a defense that was chicken shit and turned it into salad.
There you go. All right. Let's talk about our movie. That's it for the football. We do appreciate y'all listening. Genuinely, thank you. Love y'all for listening. Hit that like button. Do subscribe if you want to hear us talk about this week's movie. It is, well, TJ already spoiled it. Well, I guess we teased it at the top to let people know.
Hold on.
What?
Art Shell or John Gruden have coached. Art Shell or John Gruden have coached the Oakland/Vegas Raiders in every single decade since 1980.
Yeah, Shell took over in 89, I believe. If I'm not mistaken.
He was in the 80s. Gruden was 90s. Shell was 2000s. Gruden was 2010s.
I mean,
so one of them's got to come back in the 2020s sometime.
Josh McDaniels is going for that with New England.
Yeah, that's an interesting stat.
I did enjoy TJ learning how to talk there too. That was fun.
I was trying to do math at the same time and figure it out. I didn't want to like start saying it and realize like, oh no, I counted wrong. Never mind.
All right, boys. So this week's movie, I chose this one, The Ballad of Wallace Island. I will give the synopsis before we dive in. If you're interested in watching it, I would say, I mean, you're probably not at this point, but if you are, going cold and don't listen to the breakdown. It's on Amazon Prime. If you got Amazon Prime, go ahead and give that a listen. I will give you the Rotten Tomatoes synopsis of The Ballad of Wallace Island. The Ballad of Wallace Island follows Charles, an eccentric lottery winner who lives alone on a remote island and dreams of getting his favorite musicians, McGuire Mortimer, back together. His fantasy turns into reality when the bandmates and former lovers accept his invitation to play a private show at his home on Wallace Island. Old tensions resurface as Charles tries desperately to salvage his dream gig. Who wants to open this up? Who wants to talk about the ballad? Who should I throw it to first? Is anybody antsy to talk about the Ballad of Wallace Island? Everybody.
I think Dean, you really wanted to do this movie. I feel like this is a good time for you to kick off, because it feels like this movie is near and dear to you. So
yes, I had seen this before. I watched this last year. It came out last year. It's going to be up for some nominations, possibly, maybe. We'll see when it comes to Oscars and things of that sort. I don't know. But I mentioned this before. I watched this movie last year. I watched it at a time where I was not doing well, had some personal tragedies in my life, and was dealing with personal tragedies going forward, unfortunately. And I did not experience a lot of joy in the year 2025. But I did enjoy this movie for 100 minutes, whatever it was. I was able to turn off my brain. And it's a beautiful little movie. And there's like 5 people in it. It's a small, beautiful little movie. And really, there's like 10 you see, but maybe 5 actually speak. Essentially, it's about 3 people. You got dad jokes, you got folk music. It looks spectacular. I would say it's about loss and loneliness and the pain of moving on. But it's also like part goofball comedy. So, and I think it's like got a good amount of like all of it. It's not too much goofball comedy. It's not too sappy. It's not too, it's just the breakdown. It works for me. I'm curious if you guys liked it. I feel bad if you didn't. And just because I gave that build up, if you hated it, by all means, tell me you hated it. I'm not going to take, I don't have any producer credits or anything. I'm not going to take it personal. I don't have any points in the movie, nothing like that. But you guys can probably hear it in my voice. I loved it. I thought it was a hell of a lot of fun. and it's I think it's a crowd pleaser. At least this a crowd of one, it pleased me. I enjoyed watching it, but I shall yield and throw it to. I'm going to pick somebody because nobody is diving in. Daigle, how did you feel about the Ballad of what you knew nothing going in? I presume nobody knew anything about this movie.
Knew absolutely nothing about it.
Thoughts?
I think it is wonderfully beautiful. It's a feel-good movie, despite, as you said, about and dealing with loss, about being socially awkward, and then trying to discuss anything around your friends again. It's more of a feel-good, and there's a lot of good comedy. It's British humor, so it's supposed to be a little bit drier. I think that's why not only the lines match with the characters, but also just the fact that the wittiness is more dumbed down. But even lines like "You won the lottery twice" is a great. It's like a genius comedy moment. So no, I really, really enjoyed this movie, and it's simple, and I think everyone should watch it.
Rich,
it's so simple actually that. I found out because I was looking more into it, and apparently Tim Basden, the actor, like you said, it's only 3 to 5 people that talk throughout the thing. Tim also did all the music originally for this film too.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's I don't know much about his musical abilities, but I thought it worked out. I thought it worked pretty well. And I'm not a big folk fan per se. I don't know if you guys are big in folk.
But, I do like folk. I like folk. Okay. Folk and blues.
Is good folk?
Yeah, I think it's good. Folk is pretty
folk artist, just in general, like Jim Croce. Who's your go-to folk?
Oh, I don't know. In terms of like when I hear it, I guess like folk. Whenever Neil Young has some side projects that was kind of folk, but just in general, when you hear it, I like folk.
Just as like a background music. Folk.
Yeah, for sure.
Work. Rich, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at this movie, and I was watching it. It's like you said, it's like a tidy little movie about moving on, but also not having to let go of the past. I mean, you had Charles with his wife, the whole reason, like throwing that concert gig in together, and like how to pursue the shopkeeper. Nell kind of like wanting to revisit the music that she had with Herb, and like, but having this new life that was in front of her with Michael, and then the revealed pregnancy, and like Herb was like the inverse of this. He didn't know how to properly like handle like this old section of his life and being something that wasn't truly him, because he didn't know how to like properly move on. And but like when I was watching this, Dean, like I already know, and like from like your setup, like it was hard to not watch this movie, like not knowing what you went through, and like trying to like feel like your experience, like the weight of that. So like, and then understanding the timing, what you're going through, and the message of this movie. So it was just really hard not to like to shed that connection, with you. So like with that being in my having a relationship with you, it was just like watching the movie, like kind of through your eyes in a sense, and getting, obviously I wasn't in your shoes, but like kind of being there. We're in an era where so much is centered on telling people why they're wrong for liking the things that they like. I'm guilty of it myself.
Sure.
Do it here. But you forget that sometimes like the timing of when you watch something, or like what you're going through in your life, can change like how you experience or consume media. And I just was watching this movie thoroughly, like through like feeling kind of what you were feeling, and I felt like I had a connection with you through this movie. So like it's always going to be kind of special to me, because I feel like the relationship that we've developed for the last 10 years, being able to share something, it was like you sharing something with us, and that meant something to me and made the movie a little bit extra for me.
Oh, that's kind of you to say. And now we need Rob to shit all over it.
I was just gonna say, I want to piggyback off of that quick, because I felt like I had a very similar viewing experience where I was watching the beginning of it and thinking, did I just get lost?
You're kind of jumping in and out. I think you're good to go now.
Good, that Hojo Wi-Fi is
We're not. Are we still on air? Because TJ is producing.
We are still on air. If he leaves, we'll still be here.
We're still here. I don't know what's happening right now.
Let me jump to Rob, and hopefully we can fire TJ back up in a second. Rob, feel no pressure, Rob. You can say you have carte blanche.
I love it.
Yeah. No, I like this movie a lot, and it's for a lot of the reasons that John and Rich said. What I'll add to the conversation, and I think this will maybe it works with you guys too, but I assume it does. all of us work in fields where we are working in a field, and I don't want to speak for everyone, but I think I can here. We work in a field that we pursued our passions, right? Like we love football. I love doing the ghost stuff that I do, like the paranormal stuff. But there's times where you just sit there and you're like, I fucking hate this. And you have to and I need movies like this occasionally to remind me that I actually do love what I do. There's stuff around it that I don't like, but I like the actual art of what I do, right? Like everything around it can sort of make you bleed in that sense where you're kind of bleeding out. But I love talking about football. I love doing the ghost stuff. I might hate some of the stuff in between, right? And I feel like that's sort of what this movie was addressing. And I need that message sometimes for myself to kick myself back into gear, to keep going. I don't know if anyone else is like that. And the other thing I'm going to say, it's going to sound like a joke, but it's really not a joke. I've never watched a movie where the end credits was the best part of the movie. And what I mean by that is the song that actually gets sung, the Ballad of Wallace Island, during the credits. I think I've never wanted to sit through credits we've liked music through credits, but like that song really puts a stamp on this movie, I feel like. And I thought that was like, I was like, wow, I think maybe my favorite part of this movie is hearing the song that the character wrote after his experience on this island.
John or Rich might get that feeling, and myself and TJ were like breaking down Jets Raiders analysis when you're digging into we're not digging ditches. Like life could be worse. It's a good perspective that you're bringing, Rob. I see what you're saying, and it makes a ton of sense. By the way, Amazon has lost its mind, and I don't think it's just Amazon. I think it's all of them. If you like, the movie ends, and within like 2 seconds, it's like, you should watch this now. You cannot watch the credits. You must watch this.
So annoying. It's been doing that with Parks and Rec, which I've been just finished a rewatch, and every single time there's like an end credits bit, like a bit to close out the episode, and so often they're hilarious, and they cut through in the middle of them every single time.
But this, they're trying to tell me, well, you liked Wallace Island, so now you're going to like, I don't know, The Rookie. I'm not sure.
Kong versus Godzilla.
The algorithm says you like Kong.
I mean, I assume by the movies we've had to pick this year, like our algorithms are all disasters.
Oh, dude.
Where's the Venn diagram for who enjoys Ballad of Wallace Island and Troll 2? By that Venn
they can't
diagram.
figure this out.
There's nothing crazier than my YouTube algorithm, because I leave my TV running not only while I sleep, my YouTube on my bedroom just keeps running all day. So it just starts doing its own thing. I'll walk in there and I'm like, what are you playing now? And it's like a music video, or it's a weird movie, or it's like soundscapes. It just makes its own shit up, and just like it's living its own life in there, that YouTube channel.
Yeah, you just got to put it on an Agents of Fandom playlist and let that roll up the views for me.
It doesn't work.
Like
I try to do that with Hometown Ghost Stories, and it's still just, after it plays one or two, it does its own thing.
I did that on our main TV. Accidentally logged in on YouTube, and then like my kids just like like what it is, just melted it, just absolutely just wrecked my algorithm.
TJ, you're in the middle of making a point before. You didn't. You got cut off there with the technological issues.
Yeah, if I start freezing, just go without me and keep going. But I was gonna say, I felt like I watched this in a similar vein to Rich, where it was like I started going and went, okay, this has some fun one-liners, but I don't really, and I wish I would have written some of them down, because some of them were really funny. But I don't think this movie is totally for me. Like, I'm a little bored through the part of this process, and then I kind of thought, well, this movie is important to Dean. Dean is important to me. I want to invest. I want to lock in. Let's put the phone away and let's actually pay attention and lock in. And I did think it was interesting how it explores the part of grief that I think would be most difficult, and the most troubling part of grief, and that's the survivor's guilt. How do I get to move on and live my life to the fullest when my partner, my parents, my sibling, my child, whatever it is, my friend, they didn't get to? Why do I get to if they didn't get to? And it just like it's something that is explored in one of my favorite TV shows, Shrinking, something that's explored in the final season of Stranger Things, which a lot of people didn't didn't like it. But that was an interesting part to me of like, you know, in season 4, one of the last things a character says to Dustin, a main character in Stranger Things, is don't ever change. Don't ever change, Dustin Henderson. And then when something happens to them, and he is feeling the survivor's guilt, he is the worst version of himself. He's the worst version of himself throughout the beginning of season 5, because he's dealing with his grief. He's dealing with the survivor's guilt in the wrong way. And so I thought this story was very interesting, how it was 2 people who need to move on from the past in 2 totally different ways. One who needs to stop punishing himself with isolation because his partner was gone, and the other one who has been living in the past for another reason. It's like he was in love and didn't get the closure that he wanted, and so he's buried himself in his music and he's been unhappy. And I just thought it was really cool how these 2 totally different people came together and they were able to see in each other what they were missing in their own lives and use that to connect with each other and help both of them move forward.
If you could pick one band, musician, artist to play for you and your significant other or your family or whoever you want to be there on an island or wherever, Rob, who would that be? Who are you inviting?
Oh my God, you threw it to me first.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Because I figure you give me the most interesting answer.
It's a one-on-one concert.
No. I mean, you can invite your friends.
Well, but you know what I mean. It's like like fairly anyone.
Does that change the elements? Like you don't have to be like a thrash band or something.
Yeah. No, I think it's probably Dean Martin for me.
Oh. Okay.
I think, because I'm assuming we can pick anyone alive or dead.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Sinatra.
I can't make this happen. This is just a hypothetical.
No. Sinatra.
He knows a guy.
Yeah, Dean Martin, probably Sinatra, close second for me.
J3 is trolling me in chat because he says J-Lo after we spent like an full hour and 20 minutes arguing about J-Lo during the Grinders live show. I don't know if you noticed that, Dean, but the entire time you and Kyle were talking about basketball, J3 and I were arguing about J-Lo in chat.
So I think, not to derail the conversation, but movies. I think you were saying J-Lo is like a good actress and you like her in movies. And I would love to present that thought to everybody else here because I saw that and I'm like, what? I mean,
I know. So my point was that she is a fraud of a singer. I'm not talking about her movies. You can think her movies great. You can be a fan of her as a celebrity and a movie star, but she's a fraud of a singer. She passes off songs as her being the ones who sing them, and they are Ashanti. They are Christina Milian. This is documented where she's a plagiarist. She passes off songs as her own without giving any credit. It's the vocals of Ashanti in these big hit songs of hers. They're not even her voice that she has re-recorded. She just left them in there. And so my whole take was that she is a fraud of a musical artist. I don't think that impacts what she has done in movies a lot. If you're a fan of rom-coms, you're going to love Jennifer Lopez in movies. But as a musician specifically, she's trash.
I will say there's times when this show's gone in a direction I never thought was coming. That might be the number one side tangent we've ever had on this show.
Jennifer Lopez,
what the hell just happened?
I mean, she can be bad at music and still not very good at acting, which I'm not sure if you're actually saying that. Because I think she's still not very
the
good
argument was coming from J3 was saying that J-Lo is an American cultural icon.
She is.
And disparaging her is like disparaging apple pie.
There are cultural icons that aren't necessarily spectacular in their field. They just happen to, I mean, you could say Paris Hilton's a cultural icon, right? But what is she really?
Rocks.
What's that?
Paris Hilton rocks.
Well, okay, this
is going.
What the
We're figuring a lot of things about
Paris
CJ.
Hilton got disowned from her family and made a career by acting like an idiot when she's not actually one.
Okay. I mean, Yeah, I don't know the backstory with her and the Hilton, hotel.
It's actually a really interesting story.
It's time to get on. What are we doing with Britney Spears here? Christina Aguilera. What else do we want to cover?
You want to power rank 90s pop stars?
Oh, Christina Aguilera, one of the best.
I'm kidding, TJ. Please stop.
Christina Aguilera, one of the best pure singers of all time, up there with Mariah, with Kelly Clarkson.
Dean, throw it to somebody else for their island singer, please. I can't do this anymore.
I want to go to an
island. Kelly Clarkson.
Daigle, who do you want playing on your island?
Oh, I don't know, because it wouldn't be like my favorite band, because I don't think like that's a good setting for Bowling for Soup. So
that's right.
Like, who would I?
They're good in any setting, to be fair.
Who's really soft and gentle with a guitar? I don't know. Like Ed Sheeran. That's what it seems like the perfect setting
John
for.
Mayer or something.
Yeah,
John Mayer is a good one. I was thinking Ed Sheeran too, and it's like not because he's my favorite, but because he'd be really good at that shit.
So it's not even who is my favorite band. It's about who I want playing on that island with me in the moment. Because like I don't want Limp Bizkit on the island with me. But if you ask me if I want Limp Bizkit in my backyard, the answer is yes.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So I don't know.
You can talk to Fred Durst about that John Travolta movie.
It's a very specific setting. It's such a specific setting that like.
And I would respect the setting.
Yeah, you have to. You can't. You can't just be like I love going to like a 50 Cent concert, but I'm not gonna be like, I want 50 Cent performing on the island as the sun sets.
Can't have corn in there launching Woodstock again.
Slipknot.
Yeah, Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
Did you have one in the chamber there, Rich? You got anything?
No. I mean, most of the artists that I like, I've genuinely seen. I would say maybe just artists that I missed out on that I genuinely enjoy that I was just too young at the time would be either Earth, Wind, and Fire or Eric B. and Rakim, like to see live, like in the actual peak.
What about the orchestra to one of your favorite video games? I know you've touched on that a couple times.
Yeah, I mean those I go see those shows all the time. Yeah, if we can get a Clear Obscure show, me and Rob will go.
Clear Obscure, yeah, absolutely for that setting, that'd be great.
Do we like the dad jokes? Or is it you have to like that kind of sort of humor, I suppose? I did like the running gag of the phone. I thought that was pretty fun. And when it fell in the water.
The shopkeeper gag was my favorite running gag.
Oh, the bad thing she kept. Yeah, she just.
Like she didn't have rice, but had rice pudding. Didn't have peanut butter cups, but had peanut butter and a cup.
Yeah,
like all that bullshit.
Everybody on Wallace Island doesn't know sarcasm, hyperbole, anything like that. Everything is just literal.
Well, yeah, it's two people.
Was also interesting to find out that although Wallace Island is a real place, this location is not.
It is
Wales.
They
filmed this in Wales, which also is interesting because I'll be in Wales in 2 months. So
yeah. Is Wallace Island real? That's a dumb question. Is that real?
That's what I was just saying. Like Wallace Island is a real place. It is not in Wales. It's like in Polynesia.
Huh. Yeah. Well, so much for that. We'll circle back. We'll have to have a podcast. We have to reunite and see what Rob's Tales, what happens in Wales. But let's go ahead and put a score on this. Well, no.
Wait, you and TJ gotta give TJ. You can't do 15 minutes on it, but you got to give your music.
I am 70 actually. I don't think anyone knows my true age. So
Rich is way older than people think he is because he's been aging in reverse. Like if you see pictures of Rich from like 10, 15 years ago, he's like looking better now.
My oldest son, it will be 21 in 1 month.
There you go. Shout out to Braden.
I'll be 41 in 2 days.
Shout out to you, bro.
Yeah.
2 days, really?
Yeah, 2 days.
I did ask the question. I should be able to answer it, but I didn't put a lot of thought into it. My favorite bands, the National, Arcade Fire. I'm not sure if that would necessarily work. Maybe just Matt Berninger, just like doing like a solo thing, the lead singer of the National. Maybe just like Eddie Vedder on a guitar. Like that would be pretty awesome. You know, he's pretty spectacular. His voice is incredible. It's still incredible.
I think he shreds too much.
Not a better guy.
Good setting.
Have you seen him at a Cubs game by chance? Maybe
he's at like literally every Cubs game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like whenever they have to have a last second seventh inning stretch singer. They just pull in Eddie Vedder.
He's down
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did it like 7 times last year.
I would go with Blink 182. because they are the only one of my favorite bands that I have not seen live in concert.
Well,
I've seen them a few times.
I like your opinion, but also that's a terrible setting for Blink-182.
Yeah, you can't do-
I thought of the same thing.
You
For
can't do
sure. It's just
Blink-182
like
on the
that's
beach.
like I've seen all my other favorite bands I've seen at least once, and I've never gotten a chance to see them.
And I'm a big fan of acoustic albums. I don't think Blink-182 ever did an acoustic album.
They shouldn't ever do an acoustic album. And I
Take Out
like
Your
Blink-182
Dancing Jacket was not
Play
acoustic?
Together for the Kids acoustically sounds wonderful.
I've seen them twice, by the way. Both times I was not going for them. I went for like the other bands. Now, not to throw it in your face, TJ. I saw them accidentally, basically, a couple times over the years.
I've
But
seen them as well. Was Travis Barker doing the upside down drum set when you went?
no. This is like years ago.
I was going to ask if Barker was the drummer yet when you went.
Yes, he was. I don't know. To my knowledge, I thought he was the drummer most of their way. Was he not the original drummer? I guess he wasn't.
He was
What
not
you're
the
saying, Rick?
original drummer, no.
Okay. Yeah. No. To my knowledge, I've seen only with Barker as their drummer. We have to play the Rotten Tomatoes game. Let's play it. Let's go ahead and put a score on it. Which, by the way, I don't know if you guys get this, but if you watch this on, is it Prime? One of them, they just got to ruin the Rotten Tomatoes score right in the screen. They don't realize we're
Oh,
playing
I
a
didn't
game.
see it.
I didn't see that either.
Oh, no.
Peacock does it too. I don't. Maybe Prime doesn't, but I know Peacock does it. If it's above 50%, Peacock will let you know. If it's not, if Peacock doesn't tell you the Rotten Tomatoes score, that means it's really, really bad at Rotten Tomatoes.
Hell
Just a
yeah.
heads up. Yeah, Rob, tell me 1 through 100, both the critics and the audience. I'll tell you the sample size too on Rotten Tomatoes. We're
It's
talking
got to be
about
small. It's
140 critics and 100 plus verified audience members. Just 100 audience members for the Ballad of Wallace Islands. Give me both
Yeah, good.
scores.
got to get in there, Dean.
Yeah.
94 for critics, 88 for audience. I just don't know how you thumbs down this. I guess I can see how people will thumbs down it, but I mean,
TJ almost did. Didn't sound like he was terribly enthused. He was bored. Daigle?
Yeah. Audience. I mean, critics. Is it a good critic movie though? I don't know actually. I'll say 88 for critics and audience 92.
Rich?
Yeah, I was thinking mid 80s. I guess I'll just say 85 critics and 90 audience.
TJ?
you're muted.
He's talking about Christina Aguilera.
Muted like an idiot. I think this is gonna be a bit of a critic's darling. Oh, Christina Aguilera is talented though, if I'm being really honest. Critics, I think this will be a bit of a critic's darling, and I think the audience might be a bit lower on it because I think a lot of people might, go into it thinking it's a straight comedy or a straight drama, and it just might not be for everyone. But I still think it's going to be quite beloved on a tomato meter setting. So I'll go 96 critics, 91 audience.
TJ hit the critics 96. Critics love this movie, 96%. I've seen it in a lot of best of, like top 10 lists for the year. I've, I went in that. You guys are talking about the YouTube algorithm. My YouTube algorithm, like once you click on one, you get everybody. So I just kept listening, and yeah, they were pretty popular on people's best of. 93% for the audience. So the audience liked it, but just a little bit less than the critics. TJ, tell me IMDb 1 through 10. The IMDb score is what?
Let's go. A flat 8.
Ooh. Rich, 1 through 10.
7.5.
Daigle?
Both good answers. 7.9.
God damn it. I was going to go 7.5. 7.7.
Damn, we're just all jumbled.
You went the wrong way, Rob. It's 7.4. 7.4 out of 10.
I lost.
Just still very strong. I think that was what last week's movie was 7.3, if I'm not mistaken, The Life of Chuck. So it's right there with The Life of Chuck, 7.4, 7.3. We have
Not dissimilar movies.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, in the same bucket, I guess. I mean, I would say the Ballad of Wallace Island is funnier, but yeah, like as far as some of the themes, sure.
Ballad of Wallace Island a little funnier, The Life of Chuck a little more sci-fi, but in general, similar themes for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Which did we like more, TJ?
Life of Chuck, but not because I necessarily think Ballad of Wallace Island is worse. More so just because The Life of Chuck felt like it really connected to the things I'm currently going through in my life.
By the way, the funny guy, is in the new Paper. I don't know if you guys have watched that, the Office spinoff.
Yes, that's what I saw him in. I was looking around and I was like, okay, he was in Mickey 17. I don't think it was that, though. This really feels like it would have been a character from the original Office.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
so
it felt like it was.
That makes sense.
It felt like it was Murray from Flight of the Conchords.
It's very similar vibes. Very similar vibes. I love Murray in Flight of the Conchords.
I was just thinking, like, how mad is this dude that Zach Galifianakis became popular? Not him.
I was thinking about that. I was like, I think Zach Galifianakis would ruin this movie.
Probably just too much.
Yeah, I think he would have been too much on it. I think.
Tim was a lot though. The character, Tim, the actor, the character's name was Charles, right? He was a lot.
Yeah, Charles.
But he was also like likable and endearing.
Played
and
earnestly.
He meant well.
Played earnestly, and I don't know if Galifianakis could have done that.
You don't think that's in his range?
I like him, but I just don't think that he could have nailed this character properly.
You know who could have? Murray
Christina
from Flight of the
Aguilera.
Christina Aguilera. J-Lo, absolutely not.
I was waiting for J-Lo. I was just giving you a big pause. Imagine if it was J-Lo. Everything else was exactly the same. This is J-Lo. All right, we got to give it a score, boys. Rob, 1 through 5. What do you got?
I'm gonna give it a 4 flat. Like I think it's a really good movie. I like what it does. It doesn't do anything like new. It follows the story it should follow, I guess. But there's no real twists or turns or anything. But I think it's a really good movie to watch. Real solid.
TJ, you have a superhero?
Can you come back to me?
Did you not know this was coming? You did all your research on like.
I finished this movie 5 minutes before Grinders Live started, and I have not left my laptop doing shows since then.
Iceman.
Yeah, you can always default to Iceman. Daigle, what do you got?
Iceman.
This is the hardest one I feel like I've ever done. Like I really struggle with it. So Rob is going to correct me and he's going to be right. But when I see this movie, as even though it's about loss, I still think it's very peaceful. I think it's a kind movie, and I think it went out the right way. So I think, even though he hasn't retired yet, he hasn't gone out. But when I think about like the kindest, most peaceful wrestler that I'm always going to watch, to me, it's Kofi Kingston. So I'm going to say this movie that everyone cheers for is Kofi Kingston.
Just a massive heel right now, though.
That's I know, but the other like peaceful retirements are like Ric Flair, who's like too chaotic for this movie, too chaotic to ever look overseas, and like Kane's character was also way too chaotic.
Yeah,
because everyone says Kane is like the nicest person ever.
Elias as a face.
That's a
not
good one.
heel Elias.
That's actually really good because he carries around the guitar.
Yeah, this is face Elias. That's my answer.
I was going to say, and this is not my lane, but Mick Foley's kind of a funny guy. So I don't know.
But also maybe too disastrous for this movie.
Yeah. Well, he could. Well, to Dean's point, this could be Mick Foley. It's not any of the other three.
That's true.
It's not the other three. It's not Dude Love. It's not Cactus Jack. It's not Mankind. But it could be Mick Foley.
And you got to be likable, and I think he's a likable guy.
Yeah, everyone loves him.
Yeah, or maybe just somebody just loses a lot. Like it just what do they call oh god,
a jobber?
Yeah, like a jobber.
A Barry Horowitz.
There you go. Barry Horowitz. It would pat himself in the back, right? Wasn't that his move, Barry Horowitz?
It was, yeah.
There you go. I got something for you. I'm gonna give it I score out of 100, and you guys know I like this movie a lot. I wanted to watch it again. I watched it twice in the last calendar year. So I'm going to give it an 87 out of 100. 87 out of 100. And Rich, you have a tight end for us?
Yeah, like I said, this movie to me, the theme for me was, moving on doesn't mean letting go. And one of my favorite players ever was Vernon Davis, a player that definitely played longer than he should have. It kept moving on, and I wasn't ever going to let him go. So my last tight end that I will ever review will be this, is Vernon Davis.
Oh, we're retiring the tight end bit.
Yep, and I'm retiring the tight end bet officially with this movie.
Closing strong with Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis, like you said, played From 2006 to 2019, last 4 years, he played for Washington from age 32 to age 35. And, he had 500, 600 yards or so the last couple of years. 100, the last season, he only played 4 games with Washington. It was basically over. He never had a 1,000-yard season. I figure he might have, but he got close. In 2009, 965 yards, 13 touchdowns for San Fran, 914 and 7 in 2010. But probably a Pro Bowl year. Had to be a Pro Bowl year for 2009, I'd imagine. So, yeah, he had some moments, Vernon Davis. Why was he your guy, Rich?
I grew up a 49ers fan. So, he was kind of that tight end in, like, the mid-2000s, like him and Frank Gore on just those dog shit 49er teams. That was, like, the only cheerable pieces that they had with them. Then Patrick Willis came along and Navarro Bowman. But, yeah. Big Vern, but Big Vern in the multiverse somewhere else, like that dude broke tight end records. Like he was like the OG RotoViz, like all world Mr. Olympia, like dude was built out of carved out of granite, man.
Yeah, we
I feel like he's got a famous hurdle on his resume. Isn't there a famous hurdle somewhere in the archives for Vernon Davis? Am I just making that up? I think it's happening.
Yeah, I mean he's got that huge playoff catch against the Saints. The game winner and like an all-time burner for the playoff games, that 49er Saints game.
An all-time Mike Singletary rant against him.
Yes, he's the dude that Mike Singletary went nuts on. Yep.
Can't win with him.
Can't coach him.
Yeah.
Can't win with him. Can't do
That's
it.
what it was. I was trying to remember the crux of the Singletary rant. That was really, really good. And yeah, I forgot that was the meat of it. I don't remember what happened there, but I guess the two of those did not get along a ton. Do we know, Rich? You're breaking news. You're retiring the tight end bit. Do we have something on layaway? Assuming if we come back,
listen, you just got to come back next year to the pick six.
This is the cliffhanger. This is the tease.
Is there any tight ends you didn't use that you're upset you didn't get to use?
I mean, I never found the perfect movie for Gronk. Obviously, it just had to be right. Who I think is the best tight end to ever play football. There was just nothing I felt worthy of Gronk status, so never got to use him. But I would have loved to know what the official Wikipedia is. I went through. I think I've done it for every year we've done this. This has been the bit. So I feel like I've run out, and I've had some gems, but I'm out of tight ends, man.
I feel like you can reserve the right to still use Gronk if the right movie comes up in the future, sort of like you did with Phillip Rivers. Like you could pull it out that one time. Is
like a wild card, phone a friend, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Gronk could have applied to this too, but, again, I feel like Gronk has to be, Dark Knight type shit.
Yeah.
So, Rich is going to do 90s pop stars next year.
I might do. I might.
Just J-Lo movie characters.
Maya? What movie is Maya?
I'm excited for that. I hope it's true, but we'll see. Stay tuned. Appreciate y'all listening. If you stuck with us at this point,
did we get a hero, a superhero?
Oh, TJ, that's right. Yeah.
Where I was trying. This is the one I thought of originally, but I was trying to think of something different because it doesn't fit from a comic book perspective, really. But there is something in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a specific line actually that I think of when watching this movie, and it's a line said by the Vision, played by Paul Bettany in the television show WandaVision, after he is about to die prior to being resurrected for the third time. But they're talking about all the grief him and his partner, Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, have gone through. And he says, what is grief if not love persevering? And I've always thought that was just such a powerful line, because that is what grief is. It's love within you that you're not ready to get rid of yet. And it hurts because you can't give it to somebody in the same way that you used to, because they're gone. And I do think that's a really beautiful way to look at grief of, I'm hurting, I'm in pain, but that's just because this love I have for that person is still here. And I think that's a really nice way to look at it. And so I'm going with the Vision.
One last time, let's tell the people where they can find us. This podcast is we're going on hiatus, as far as I know, unless there's by some miracle we're running it back next week. But to my knowledge, that's not happening. Hit the subscribe button and maybe it pops up. I can't promise you. Rob, tell the people where they can find you in the meantime.
You can find me at Hometown Ghost Stories. Also, we solved a problem that we have for the first 2 weeks of this show, which is we usually can't assign movies for weeks 1 and 2. But I won the Saturday contest. TJ won
The only reason this is being brought up.
No, but TJ, no, because I have
He's
to
right to bring it up. I
movie.
should have mentioned it.
TJ won Sunday. So I think it just means that I assign week 1, TJ assigns week 2, and then that way the winner of the first week gets to pick the movie for the week 3.
No, Rob, we can hold on. But week 1 we would have a contest, and we break it down week 2. We can just do a double feature week.
No.
1.
No. Week 1 we would have a contest, but we wouldn't assign the contest movie until week
we would
2.
come in without a movie, Dean. So now we have a movie.
We have a movie for the first 2 weeks because you win week 1, but you don't get to assign that movie till the week 2 show. So now we have movies for week 1 and week 2.
That's what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Understood.
So that problem's solved for next year.
Do you have something to scare us? You want to just tease us what we might be breaking down next year?
I want him to take all the time to decide.
I'm just picking Troll 2 every
We've
time.
talked about Jayla's legacy and what we're doing 8 months from now. I think it's time to say our goodbyes.
Yes.
I'm winning 10 times next year, and I'm picking 10 Fast and the Furious movies.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. I don't think people will be against that per se. Rich, one last time, tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, Sharp Football Analysis. I've got 3 more games to write up after this. The 2 championship rounds and the Super Bowl. And then we'll be doing, dynasty content, diving into the draft class. I may be going to the combine this year too. So if anyone's out there, head over there. I think I'm going to go and show up in this person. So I've never met Warren in person, and he's going to be there this year. And I figured this might be the time. So I'm also going to, I think, Goldie's to meet Ray at Goldie's. If you guys want to go to Texas and go to Goldie's, meet me there too. We can stand in line for 6 hours for some barbecue.
Is that your first time potentially for the combine, Rich?
Yeah, I've never been, but it's like 4.5 hours from me, it's actually a super easy drive. I pass it going to Daigle's all the time.
Daigle?
I might have to go to the combine now this year too. I've been back in a couple of years.
You're not going to be alive after Sunday, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Also, like Rich will find out, it's hard to stay alive in Indy too. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes there. Everyone's quickly turning around and putting on makeup to be on camera 1 hour later. But established a run. No more games for me. Silva took all 4. I really thought he'd still pass me the Bears, but no. So my work is done here. I will open up the Edge channel on YouTube and the podcast feed 2 weeks after the Super Bowl. I'm going to take 2 weeks, be a vegetable, do unhealthy habits, and then come back and do dynasty content after that.
So establish the Edge podcast. It's going to be dynasty stuff going.
Dynasty stuff yet again. Yeah. Rich showed up for a couple episodes last year too, including a pre and post rookie mock draft for dynasty leagues. We'll probably do that again.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. All right. Once again, appreciate y'all listening. For TJ, for Rich, for all the tight ends, for Rob, for Daigle, I was Dean. Go win something this week. We're out of here. Holler.